Chapter 1109. The remaining ferocious beasts and void beasts were scared out of their wits and fled for their lives. A cold light flashed in Su Chen's eyes, and he suddenly drew his saber and slashed. A three-colored torrent swept forward like a river of stars. Instantly, a terrifying magical wave spread out, causing the void to tremble. What a terrifying magic attack! The cultivators on the island trembled non-stop, and their eyes were filled with ferocity. The shock that Su Chen's three-elemental magic fusion attack had brought to them was unprecedented. Three-elemental magic fusion. Su Chen actually has such a killing move. Venerable Xinyuan, who was in the intelligent war chariot, was also shocked. Previously, when Su Chen used Thousand Swords Become One, it already shocked him like a celestial being. He did not expect that Su Chen still had a killing move. Moreover, its power was only slightly inferior to that of the 1,000 swords. At this moment, he became more and more excited. With these two trump cards in hand, Su Chen might really be able to compete with a godly state expert. Qi Qingchuan, who was beside him, could not help but laugh when he saw Venerable Xinyuan's expression. Su Chen's strength was definitely not limited to what he saw in front of him. At least, he knew that Su Chen had a fist technique. That day in the chaotic space, he had seen Su Chen use it once. That terrifying power could only be described as destroying the world. Moreover, Su Chen had not used the transformation technique yet. Using the transformation technique to upgrade his three professions at the same time was Su Chen's real trump card. On the other side, the three-colored torrent swept across, and thousands of void beasts and ferocious beasts were all destroyed. The sky was filled with shining shards, and there were more than 100,000 of them. Seeing this, the corners of Su Chen's mouth curled up slightly. After this battle, he was sure of one thing. Killing ferocious beasts could also drop shards, and the number of shards dropped was more than that of the foreign tribes and void beasts. After a while, Su Chen collected the fragments. He greeted the cultivators of the myriad clans on the island and returned to the intelligent war chariot. Then, the intelligent war chariot quickly left and continued to fly towards Star Source Island. Looking at the leaving figure of the intelligent war chariot, the shock on the faces of the cultivators of the myriad races did not dissipate for a long time. There was a voice echoing in his heart. Su Chen was too strong. During the flight of the intelligent war chariot, Su Chen sat in the driver's seat and sorted out the debris. He spent an entire day sorting out the fragments. After exchanging them for energy points, the total number of energy points he had was close to 400,000. It seemed like a lot, but if he wanted to exchange for level 22 full attribute fragments and advance to the deity realm, he still had a long way to go. Since Su Chen was temporarily unable to exchange, he began to ponder about other options. So far, there were still two items worth 10,000 energy points that had yet to be exchanged. They were the 5 elements Divine Thunder Purgatory Formation and the Illusionary Blaze Feather Divine Dragon. Since he did not spend much energy points, Su Chen decided to exchange them all at once. The 5 elements Divine Thunder Purgatory Formation was a kind of thunder-type formation. Once it was released, it could cover a distance of 10,000 miles. It would also carry out an indiscriminate and omnidirectional thunder attack on the target it had locked onto. If a cultivator of the same level were to suffer such an attack, they would definitely be doomed. Even if a cultivator of a higher level did not die, they would suffer a fatal blow and their lives would be in danger. However, although the power of the 5 elements Divine Thunder Purgatory Formation was unparalleled, there were many restrictions to using this ability. First of all, one had to be a dual-profession cultivator, an evolver, and a Thunder-type Dharma Psychic. Secondly, a Thunder-type Dharma Psychic had to be proficient in 5 types of Thunder techniques. Neither of these two restrictions could be missing. It could be said that in this world, other than Su Chen, there was no other person who could cultivate the 5 elements Divine Thunder Purgatory Formation. Chapter 1110. Not only was Su Chen a full-time cultivator, but he had also consumed the 5 Thunder Fruit many times. The 5 Thunder Fruit happened to contain 5 different types of lightning power. Therefore, he had fulfilled the requirements to cultivate the 5 elements Lightning Purgatory Formation. As for the illusionary blaze feather divine dragon, it had automatically entered the pet-raising space the moment the exchange was successful. The illusionary blaze feather divine dragon looked like a combination of an Eastern divine dragon and a Western dragon. Its body was hundreds of feet long and covered with a layer of golden scales. It also had a pair of wings that covered the sky and the sun. It was awe-inspiring and gave people a very shocking feeling. Unfortunately, it was only at levels 10, so it couldn't be used for the time being. However, there was a clear hint in the feedback. The illusionary blaze feather divine dragon had the potential to become a divine beast. As long as there were enough cultivation resources, it would become a divine beast sooner or later. However, the illusionary blaze feather divine dragon's huge body could be predicted. Once it became a divine beast, its strength would be earth-shattering. This was something that other spiritual pets could not compare to. After a while, Suchin collected his thoughts and entered the chaos space. There were still a few days before reaching Star Source Island. He planned to take advantage of this time to completely master the 5 elements lightning purgatory formation. In the blink of an eye, 5 days had passed. On this day, Suchin walked out of the chaos space, and the intelligent war chariot reminded him in time, "Master, we're almost at Star Source Island." Su Chen's expression froze as he ordered, "Satoshi, search Star Source Island." The intelligent war chariot immediately started searching. After a while, a huge island appeared on the central control screen. It was like a continent. Su Chen glanced at it and continued, "Satoshi, search for the strongest person on Star Source Island." Star Source Island was the territory of the Void Beast God Realm experts. Wu Tsang had once said that he had to hold them back. He suspected that Wu Tsang was confronting a group of deity realm experts on the island. The image on the central control screen changed again and soon appeared on a plain. At this time, the sky above the plains could be said to be surging with waves, and the wind and clouds changed color. An old man who was radiating a brilliant light was sitting cross-legged in the air with his eyes closed. Above his head was a round plate that looked like a bright moon. Dazzling starlight flowed out from the disk, forming a blue light shield that completely covered the old man. "It's Senior Wu Tsang." Su Chen raised his eyebrows and cried out involuntarily. He could clearly see that this old man was Wu Tsang, who was emitting a brilliant light. Outside of Wu Tsang, there were more than 10 cultivators standing there. Among them were 2 void beasts and a sinister-looking cultivator from the myriad races. The rest were men in gray robes and had extremely ugly appearances. "Master, they are all deity realm experts." Intelligent War Chariot suddenly reminded. Were they all in the god realm? Su Chen was quite surprised. He had never expected so many deity realm experts to appear on Star Source Island. Who were those gray-robed men? Could it be an illusion of a ferocious beast? Furthermore, wasn't Wu Tsang's strength a little too strong? It was incredible that he could fight against more than 10 deity realm experts alone. Su Chen, that disc is the Starlight 10,000-year wheel. It is a defensive artifact. At this moment, Venerable Xinyuan reminded him. "I see." Su Chen understood. At this moment, he finally understood why Wu Tsang could fight against more than 10 deity realm experts. Most of the time, he relied on the defense of the Starlight 10,000-year wheel. He could imagine that if he lost this artifact, Wu Tsang would have been blasted to pieces. Chapter 11:11. After understanding this, Su Chen continued to ask, "Senior, are those gray-robed men ferocious beasts?" The myriad clans and void beasts definitely did not have so many divine realm warriors. It was very likely that they were ferocious beasts. However, he was only guessing and could not be completely sure. Venerable Xinyuan explained, "They are indeed ferocious beasts because they can transform into human forms when they reach the divine realm." Su Chen nodded and continued, "Senior, wait for me here. I'll go and kill all those divine realm warriors." What? Venerable Xinyuan was shocked and almost thought that he had heard wrongly. There were more than a dozen divine realm warriors on the other side. Su Chen was only at stage 10 of the saint stage. How could he threaten to kill them? It was true that Su Chen had the strength to compete with a divine realm warrior, But after all, he had not reached the divine realm yet. He would be killed in an instant if he made a mistake. Therefore, he did not believe that Su Chen could be a match for more than a dozen divine realm warriors. He even thought that as long as Su Chen went over, he would be killed in an instant. Su Chen, you'd better be careful, Qi Qingchuan advised. Su Chen could also advance to the divine realm warrior by using the transformation technique and had the title of being invincible among his peers. If he faced 1 or 2 divine realm warriors, he would not be worried. However, more than a dozen of them were too many. It would be easy for him to be surrounded and killed. Don't worry, they're just a few ants. Lin Yu smiled faintly. Then, under the gaze of Venerable Xinyuan and Qi Qingchuan, he opened the car door and quickly flew towards Star Source Island. He was not boasting at all. With the 2 trump cards, the 10,000 swords in 1 and the Astral Storm, he felt that even if he did not use the heaven-raising shapeshifting skill, there was a great possibility that he could crush his opponents. Su Chen is so confident? Venerable Xinyuan and Qi Qingchuan were a little stunned. Divine realm warriors had the strength to destroy the world, but in Su Chen's eyes, they were just ants. Was Su Chen boasting shamelessly? Or did he have unparalleled confidence in his own strength? The Venerable Xinyuan and the Venerable could not tell the difference. On the other side, Su Chen arrived at Star Source Island in less than a dozen breaths of time. He arrived in the air where Wu Tsang and the others were fighting. The sudden appearance of a human cultivator caused the deity realm experts present to be somewhat astonished. Especially when he sensed that Su Chen was only a 10th stage saint rank, he was even more baffled. One had to know that everyone present was at the immortal state. They could kill a level 10 saint with a flick of their fingers. Then why was this human in front of him approaching? Could it be that he was tired of living and was actively seeking death? Just as the group of deity realm powerhouses were puzzled, Lin Yu suddenly said to Wu Tsang, "Senior, it's been hard on you." Hearing this, Wu Tsang's closed eyes suddenly opened. When she saw that the one who spoke was Su Chen, her eyes shot out a brilliant light as she excitedly said, "Su Chen, you're finally here." Although he had the Starlight Myriad Year Wheel, he could not keep resisting the attacks of more than a dozen divine realm experts. Now, he was at the end of his rope. Fortunately, Su Chen came in time. Although he had not been in contact with Su Chen for a long time, he knew Su Chen very well. If Su Chen was not very confident, he would never show up. Now that Su Chen appeared in front of him, it meant that he could deal with more than a dozen divine realm experts. "Su Chen, I've been looking for you for a long time, but I didn't expect that you would take the initiative to come to me. There is a way to heaven, but you don't take it, and there is no door to hell. Let's see how you can escape this time." All of a sudden, the divine realm cultivator of all clans laughed unscrupulously. This person was none other than heaven-scattering Taoist, who had advanced to the divine realm. Chapter 11-12. Are you heaven-scattering Taoist? Su Chen narrowed his eyes and said flatly, "Yes, I am." Heaven-scattering Taoist said with a proud look. He had reached the divine realm and had more than a dozen divine realm experts as his helpers. Therefore, he was so arrogant that he didn't take Su Chen seriously at all. "You colluded with the fierce beasts and harmed thousands of tribes. Today, I'll kill you for thousands of tribes." Su Chen stared at heaven-scattering Taoist and said coldly, "You." Heaven-scattering Taoist was full of disdain. "Su Chen, do you really think you're invincible? Do you know how powerful the divine realm is?" The 2 void beasts in the divine realm also sneered. The rest of the divine realm fierce beasts looked at Su Chen with disdain. A cultivator at LV10 sacred level dared to say that he would kill a divine realm expert. In their eyes, this was a very laughable matter. They even suspected that Su Chen was out of his mind. Otherwise, who gave Su Chen the courage to say such words? "Let's start with you." A cold light flashed in Su Chen's dark eyes. He instantly released his mind power and swept it toward heaven's scattering Taoist. "Su Chen, don't be so arrogant. I'm standing right here. Let's see how you can hurt me." At this point, heaven's scattering Taoist stopped abruptly, and his face became extremely solemn. At this moment, he clearly felt an invisible force like the sea of stars crushing toward him. He immediately lost his ability to move. He couldn't get rid of it even though he had reached the divine realm. How did your mind power become so powerful? Heaven's scattering Taoist widened his eyes in horror and roared in shock. Even if he cracked his head, he also did not think that Su Chen had not advanced to deity realm yet, and his strength was actually so formidable. There are many things that you don't know. Su Chen sneered and manipulated his spiritual force to pull Heaven's loose Taoist towards himself. Save me! Heaven's scattering Taoist was scared out of his wits and roared hysterically. He couldn't move at all. If Su Chen pulled him closer, he would be easily killed. The two God Realm Void Beasts regained their senses and rushed towards Su Chen at full speed. They were in the same boat as Heaven's loose Taoist. Once Heaven's loose Taoist was killed, they would not have an easy time. Scram! Su Chen roared. His voice was like thunder, shaking the void. The two Void Beasts' scalps went numb from the shock, but they didn't retreat. They gritted their teeth and continued to charge at Su Chen. Since you want to die, I'll send you on your way first. Su Chen's entire body rippled with a layer of material killing intent, causing him to seem like a fiend god. He held a pitch-black saber in his hand as he slashed it towards the two Void Beasts from afar. Then, a tricolored torrent swept forward. At the same time, the three extraordinary fires that had reached Sacred Level 10 also jumped up and merged with it. Sizzle! Suddenly, the void seemed to be shattered. The tricolored torrent exuded extremely terrifying magical fluctuations. Everywhere it passed, there was a series of explosions. What kind of killing move is this? There were exclamations from all around. Those God Realm fierce beasts who originally looked down on Su Chen were all stunned on the spot, their eyes full of shock. The two Void Beasts were scared out of their wits. They tried their best to resist. Boom! Boom! It was accompanied by two earth-shattering explosions. Under the suppression of the tricolored torrent, the two deity realm Void Beasts exploded and died without a corpse left. Chapter 11:13. The two God Realm Void Beasts were killed by Su Chen in one move? Seeing this scene, the surroundings fell into a suffocating silence. Those God Realm fierce beasts were so shocked that their jaws almost dropped. Wu Tsang opened his mouth slightly, and his face was full of horror. He had long guessed that Su Chen's strength had increased greatly and he had the strength to kill God Realm experts, but he had never expected that it would soar to such an extent. How could this be? Why is he so powerful? Heaven's scattering Taoist's face turned pale, and his whole body began to tremble. Originally, he had thought that he could dominate and easily kill Su Chen after reaching the God Realm. Unexpectedly, Su Chen's strength was not what he could imagine at all. He had killed two God Realm experts with one move. His strength was simply incredible. Qi Qingchuan and Venerable Xinyuan in the intelligent war chariot were stunned for a moment, and then they became inexplicably excited. At first, when Su Chen said that he would kill God Realm experts, they thought that Su Chen was bragging. But after witnessing this scene, they suddenly realized that it was true. Su Chen's words were not exaggerated at all. He really had the strength. After Su Chen killed the two God Realm Void Beasts, he turned to look at Heaven's scattering Taoist and said mockingly, "Next, it's your turn. Don't kill me." Heaven's scattering Taoist was scared out of his wits. He hurriedly shouted to the fierce beasts, "Lord Fierce Beasts, save me." He knew very well that Su Chen would never let him go. If he wanted to live, he had to beg the fierce beasts for help. "Human, don't be too arrogant." The fierce beasts scolded and rushed toward Su Chen. Although Su Chen's strength had deeply shocked them, there were still a dozen of them. But they had more than a dozen people. If they joined forces, they had full confidence in killing Su Chen. A group of ants who don't know death. Su Chen smiled disdainfully and smashed Heaven's scattering Taoist's head with one punch. Then, he waved his hand when a group of divine realm fierce beasts rushed over. All of a sudden, a purple lightning bolt descended from the sky and landed among the ferocious beasts in the blink of an eye. One of the ferocious beasts couldn't dodge in time and was directly smashed to the ground, black smoke rising from its body. However, this purple lightning bolt did not take his life. It only slightly injured him. It's just a thunder technique, and you still want to play tricks? The ferocious beasts clamored. You guys are too naive. The corners of Su Chen's mouth twitched, revealing a strange arc rumble. Immediately after, the entire void was filled with the sound of thunder. It was dense and endless. In the next moment, streaks of lightning of various colors, each as thick as a bucket, descended from the sky. 1, 2, 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000. The entire void was completely covered by lightning. Especially the place where the dozen or so God-state ferocious beasts were, they were completely annihilated. It's really powerful. Seeing this, the corners of Su Chen's mouth slowly curled up. He was using the 5 elements divine thunder purgatory formation. At present, it seemed that its power was enough to destroy the world. He was quite satisfied with it. Su Chen has this kind of killing move? Wu Tsang took a deep breath and looked at Su Chen in a daze. Even with his vast knowledge, he had never seen such a terrifying killing move. At this moment, he was completely shocked. Qi Qingchuan and Venerable Xinyuan were even more shocked. They were so shocked that they even stopped breathing. Boom, boom, boom. As the streaks of lightning fell, the sound of thunder reverberated in the void. After an unknown period of time, all of the lightning dissipated. The dozen or so ferocious beasts had already disappeared in the void. One could imagine that they must have been blasted to the point that not even dregs were left. Chapter 11:14. Su Chen narrowed his eyes and glanced at the void. He saw that the sky was filled with shining fragments. He roughly estimated that there were millions of them. Even with his composure, he could not remain calm at this moment. He secretly sighed and said, "Killing a godly state expert is so satisfying." After a while, Su Chen calmed down and collected the fragments. He went to Wu Tsang and said with a smile, "Senior, are you okay?" At this moment, Wu Tsang seemed to be in a daze. Obviously, he had not recovered from the shock yet. "I'm fine. I'm fine." When he heard Su Chen talking to him, Wu Tsang quivered and replied subconsciously, "That's good." Su Chen smiled and then invited Wu Tsang into the intelligent war chariot. "Senior Wu Tsang, I'm Qi Qingchuan from the Void Fortress's Qi family." When Wu Tsang got into the chariot, Qi Qingchuan greeted him respectfully. After all, Wu Tsang was the only godly state expert among the 10,000 clans. He had protected the 10,000 clans for thousands of years and deserved his respect. Wu Tsang nodded. Then, he turned his gaze and looked at Honorable Xinyuan. When he saw Venerable Xinyuan's appearance, his expression suddenly changed and he said in a trembling voice, "Senior Xinyuan, you're still alive?" Wu Tsang had also participated in the great battle 10,000 years ago. However, at that time, he was only at stage 10 of the sage level, while Venerable Xinyuan was a godly state expert. Therefore, it was not too much to call Venerable Xinyuan a senior. Venerable Xinyuan smiled and said, "Fellow Taoist Wu Tsang is already a godly state expert, and I'm just a wisp of divine soul, so you don't have to be so polite." Divine soul? Wu Tsang's expression darkened. Originally, he thought that Venerable Xinyuan was still alive. Now, it seemed that Venerable Xinyuan had fallen in the great battle 10,000 years ago. When he thought of the great battle 10,000 years ago, the godly state experts of the 10,000 clans fought bloody battles and almost all of them died. Wu Tsang sighed in his heart. At the same time, he respected Venerable Xinyuan. "Senior Xinyuan, why are you with Su Chen?" Wu Tsang sighed and asked curiously. Venerable Xinyuan then told him about his encounter with Su Chen in the Void Relic. Fortunately, Senior has a backup plan to help Su Chen. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. Wu Tsang thanked Venerable God Source again. If it were not for the mystery realm left behind by the Venerable Xinyuan, Su Chen would not have been able to reach such heights in such a short period of time. Then, the myriad races would really be in danger. What I can do is just a meager amount of effort. The one who truly relies on is still Su Chen. Without Su Chen, the myriad races would have been destroyed by the ferocious beasts sooner or later. Venerable Xinyuan said solemnly. If it wasn't for Su Chen's extraordinary talent, if it were another person, even if they were given more time and more cultivation resources, they would never be as strong as Su Chen. It was no exaggeration to say that even in the era of geniuses 10,000 years ago, no one could compare to Su Chen. Think about it, who could kill more than 10 God State experts in an instant when they were at stage 10 sage level? Just based on this point, Su Chen was enough to be called the #1 genius in the history of the myriad races, or it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that he was the #1 expert. "Senior, you flatter me," Su Chen said modestly. At this moment, Wu Tsang seemed to have thought of something and reminded him, "Su Chen, we have to hurry up and seal the realm passage that connects to the ferocious beasts." As long as the realm passage was not sealed, the ferocious beasts would continue to attack. To the myriad races, it would still be a disaster. "Senior, there are still God State experts among the ferocious beasts?" Su Chen probed. He had already killed more than 10 God State ferocious beasts, so he suspected that there would not be any more God State experts among the ferocious beasts. If there were no God State experts, there was no need to seal the realm passage. That was because he still planned to go to the realm where the ferocious beasts were. Chapter 11:15. Su Chen, there's something you don't know. Wu Tsang sighed and then said with a solemn expression, "There are at least 100 God State warriors among the beasts, and the dozen or so that you killed can only be considered the weakest." This Qi Qingchuan sucked in a breath of cold air. 100 deity realm demonic beasts was simply shocking, and it gave him an extremely great pressure in his heart. Su Chen's eyelids also twitched, and he asked, "Senior, how powerful is the strongest among the beasts?" The strength that he had shown before was just the tip of the iceberg. He had not used any of his 3 powerful trump cards, Atlas Shapeshifting Skill, Astral Storm, and 10,000 Swords in one. Therefore, he was not too afraid of the God State beasts. The strongest among the beasts is called Gu Badian. His cultivation is as high as God State 3 stars, and his strength is unparalleled. Wu Tsang said in a deep voice. Although Gu Badian was the enemy of all races, Wu Tsang's words were full of admiration. It was also a form of respect for the strongest. God State is also divided into levels? Su Chen frowned slightly. Because he had not exchanged the level 22 all attributes fragment, he did not know that the God State was divided into levels. The God State is the same as the Sage Stage and ordinary cultivators. It is also divided into 10 levels. The lowest is God State 1 star, and the highest is God State 10 stars, Wu Tsang explained. Hearing this, Su Chen pondered. He was only at Saint Stage 10, and Gu Badian was 3 levels higher than him. Even if he used the Atlas Shapeshifting Skill and advanced to God State 1 star, there was still a gap of 2 levels between him and Gu Badian. If he was only at God State 1 star, he had full confidence to deal with Gu Badian. But with a 2-star gap, it was very difficult. However, fortunately, he had obtained 1,000,000 fragments and exchanged them all for energy points. In addition to the energy points that he had accumulated before, the total was almost 1.4 million. And to exchange for a level 22 all attributes fragment, he needed 1.5 million energy points, which was about 100,000 energy points. There were many void beasts on Star Source Island. If he killed all of them, it would not be a problem to collect 100,000 energy points. In this way, he could advance to God State 1 star. If he continued to use the Atlas Shapeshifting Skill, he would be at the 2 stars of the Divine Realm. Thinking of this, Su Chen felt much more relaxed. Wu Tsang saw that Su Chen didn't care much and was worried that Su Chen would underestimate him. He reminded him again, Su Chen, other than being a God Realm expert, Gu Badian also has a divine sword. Not only is it a divine weapon, but it's also of high quality. The power of the sword shook the heavens. Even my starry sky 10,000-year ring couldn't withstand it. It seems like Gu Badian is indeed a super expert. Su Chen narrowed his eyes and muttered to himself. Gu Ba's cultivation base was at the 3 stars of the heavenly deity realm. Coupled with the fact that he had a divine artifact in hand, his true battle prowess was comparable to that of a 4 stars deity realm martial artist. However, Su Chen was still fearless. Although he didn't have a divine artifact, 10,000 swords in one included 5,000 thunder sacred swords, 2,500 spiritual swords, and 2,500 magic swords. Its power would definitely surpass Gu Baishan's sword of piercing heaven. He was still a little confident about this. Therefore, it was not impossible to defeat Gu Badian. Senior, don't worry. I'm confident that I can defeat Gu Badian, Su Chen said with a smile. Looking at Su Chen's confident smile, Wu Song was a little stunned for a moment. Although Su Chen was an unparalleled super genius, he still didn't believe that he could defeat Gu Badian, because there was a 3-level gap between the two. The gap was too huge. Chapter 11:16. Su Chen did not explain anything. He was about to open the chaos space to summon people to slaughter Star Source Island. The swift bird suddenly reminded him, "Master, there is an extremely powerful being coming towards us." Su Chen's heart skipped a beat. The swift bird had advanced to stage 10 of the sacred stage. Most of the people who could make it feel threatened were God state experts. Thinking of this, he ordered the intelligent war chariot, Satoshi, search for him. Soon, the intelligent war chariot replied, "Master, there is a ferocious beast at God State 1 star coming." After that, he transmitted the image of the ferocious beast to the central control screen. Su Chen took a closer look and saw an ugly man who was as strong as a small mountain. He was holding a purple spear and was rushing towards them at lightning speed. In terms of appearance, this man indeed had the characteristics of a ferocious beast. Su Chen, this guy is called Ding Sheng. Although he is only at God State 1 star, he is very powerful. You must be careful. Venerable Xinyuan reminded him with a serious expression. Senior, do you know him? Su Chen asked in confusion. Wu Tsang did not know this ferocious beast, but Venerable Xinyuan recognized him at a glance. This made him feel very strange. Venerable Xinyuan explained, "In the great battle 10,000 years ago, my original body fought with him and was always at a disadvantage. The reason was the spear in his hand." Spear? Su Chen could not help but look at the purple spear in Ding Sheng's hand. He saw that it was surrounded by purple light and full of charm. It was very likely to be a high-quality holy artifact. Venerable Xinyuan continued, "This spear is called the sky-splitting purple spear. It is a divine artifact. It has the power to shatter the void and is very destructive." It is a divine artifact. Wu Tsang's face suddenly froze. He knew very well how powerful a divine artifact was because he had the Starry Sky 10,000-year wheel. However, the Starry Sky 10,000-year wheel was a defensive divine artifact, while the sky-splitting purple spear was an offensive divine artifact. If one did not have a strong defense, it was very likely that one would be killed by the spear. Therefore, he could not help but start to worry. When Su Chen heard that the heaven-splitting purple light spear was a divine weapon, not only was there no fear, there was even a look of excitement in his eyes. If he could snatch the heaven-splitting purple light spear and break it down into energy points, it would definitely be a massive amount. If he killed Ding Sheng, the energy points of the two added together would be enough for him to ascend to the divine realm. Su Chen licked his lips and said to Wu Tsang, "Senior, wait here. I'll go out and kill Ding Sheng." Su Chen, wait a minute. Wu Tsang stopped Su Chen and handed the 10,000-year ring to Su Chen. "Take it, just in case." Since Ding Sheng had come to kill him, given Su Chen's character, this battle was unavoidable. However, Ding Sheng had a divine artifact in his hands. He was worried that Su Chen would suffer a loss, so he handed the Starry Sky 10,000-year ring to Su Chen. In this way, Ding Sheng's advantage of having a divine artifact would be gone. "Senior, take it back. Ding Sheng is no different from an ant in my eyes. I can kill him easily." Su Chen smiled and walked straight out of the intelligent war chariot. This, Wu Tsang was stunned. Qi Qingchuan and Venerable Xinyuan were also stunned. If he was facing an ordinary divine realm 1-star fierce beast, Su Chen would have no problem saying that. However, Ding Sheng was different. Ding Sheng had not only experienced the war 10,000 years ago, but also had a divine artifact. His real combat strength was close to Divine Realm 2 stars. However, Su Chen did not take him seriously. He was too arrogant. Chapter 11:17. Su Chen came to the void and quietly waited for Ding Xing's arrival. After a dozen breaths, Ding Xing flew close to him with a murderous aura. When he saw Su Chen, he was slightly stunned and then said coldly, "Human, are you waiting for me?" Su Chen said lightly. Suddenly, a murderous aura surrounded Ding Xing. He glanced at Lin Yu and said sternly, "Who killed my clansmen?" There was still some aura of fierce beasts in the void. He could feel that those God-state beasts had died. However, Su Chen was only at stage 10 of the saint rank. Obviously, he couldn't do that. Therefore, he suspected that there was a hidden powerhouse nearby. "I killed them," Su Chen admitted generously. "You killed them?" Ding Xing opened his eyes wide and looked at Su Chen again. Then he sneered, "How can a trash like you kill a God-state expert? Don't boast shamelessly. 10 stage 10 of the saint rank together might not be a match for a God-state expert. What's more, there were more than a dozen God-state beasts here." Su Chen said that he could kill them? It was ridiculous. "If you don't believe me, why don't you try it yourself?" Su Chen curled his lips and provoked. Seeing Su Chen so fearless, Ding Xing muttered in his heart. Is this human deliberately hiding his cultivation? Is he pretending to be weak? Thinking of this, Ding Xing's eyes flashed coldly. He raised the sky-splitting purple light spear and rushed towards Su Chen. No matter whether Su Chen hit his strength or not. As long as he had the sky-splitting purple light spear in hand, he was confident that he could defeat Su Chen. Wu Tsang and others suddenly became nervous. They all looked at Su Chen with worry in their hearts. Su Chen's face didn't change at all. As Ding Xing rushed over, his body suddenly rose up and reached a height of 10 feet in the blink of an eye. At the same time, his cultivation rose steadily. When he reached the peak, he had surprisingly advanced to the level of 1 star of the God Realm. After advancing to the God Realm, Su Chen felt that his whole body was filled with explosive power. He felt as if he could summon clouds and rain with a flip of his hand, as if everything in the world was under his control. "Ding Xing, come here and die." Su Chen's confidence suddenly exploded, and he laughed wantonly. Arrogant. Ding Xing let out a cold snort. The purple light-splitting sky spear in his hand continuously gathered radiance. A powerful might that could tear the sky apart shot out from it. He had expected that Su Chen had concealed his strength, so he was not surprised. Facing the heaven-rend amethyst spear that smashed down like a meteor, a hint of disdain appeared at the corners of Su Chen's mouth. Immediately afterward, a dazzling golden light appeared on his palm, and he wrapped his mental strength on it. Then he grabbed the sky-splitting purple light spear. Su Chen was crazy. Witnessing this scene, Wu Tsang and the rest felt their hearts beat violently. They saw clearly that Su Chen was preparing to use his physical body to resist the sky-splitting purple light spear's rhythm. However, the sky-splitting purple light spear was clearly an indestructible divine weapon. How could Su Chen dare to do this? Actually, it wasn't the first time that Su Chen grabbed a weapon with his bare hands. It was just that the three of them had never seen it before. If they had seen it before, they wouldn't make such a fuss. "You're seeking your own death." Ding Xing was stunned for a moment, then he laughed hideously. Su Chen actually dared to grab the sky-splitting purple light spear with his bare hands. In his view, it was undoubtedly an act of seeking death. Moreover, he also believed that as long as this spear hit Su Chen, it would definitely turn Su Chen into ashes. Chapter 11:18. In the next moment, the sky-splitting purple light spear stabbed into Lin Yu's palm. A terrifying tearing power burst out instantly. All of a sudden, the surrounding void began to crack and ripple. Wu Tsang and the others in the intelligent war chariot felt their hearts in their throats. In the face of such a terrifying attack, could Su Chen really withstand it? Suddenly, a bright purple light bloomed in Su Chen's palm. The purple light was the sky-splitting purple light spear's power was released to the extreme. "Go to hell!" Ding Xing roared ferociously. Seeing that the first wave of the sky-splitting purple light spear's attack had no effect on Su Chen, he didn't dare to hold back. He used all his strength, held the sky-splitting purple light spear tightly with both hands, and stabbed at Su Chen. An earth-shattering boom resounded. Su Chen's entire body was annihilated by the purple light. Su Chen! Wu Tsang's face turned pale as he roared. Su Chen is finished. Qi Qingchuan and Venerable Shenyuan's faces turned ghastly pale, and their hearts sank to the bottom. Under such a fierce attack, they all thought that Su Chen would definitely die. Sky-splitting purple light spear, it's just an undeserved reputation. Suddenly, a cold whistle pierced through the sky, and it pierced deeply into the ears of everyone present. Su Chen is still alive. Wu Tsang and the others were stunned. They heard clearly that the person who had made the sound was definitely Su Chen. Then, they opened their eyes wide and looked at the place where the purple light had enveloped. When the purple light gradually dissipated, they saw a 10-foot-tall giant in golden armor standing in the void. He was like a god of war, unmoving, and his body was rippling with an invincible and powerful aura. It's Su Chen. He's still alive. Qi Qingchuan shouted excitedly. How could this be? When he saw that not only was Su Chen still alive, but he was also completely unharmed, the corners of Ding Sheng's mouth trembled. His eyes were filled with intense fear. From the beginning to the end, he never thought that Su Chen could really use his physical body to resist the sky-splitting purple light spear's attack. One had to know that the heaven-splitting purple light spear was a divine artifact. Even the number one expert, Gubatian, would not dare to take it head-on with his physical body. How did the human in front of him do it? Was he still human? In a trance, Ding Xing really regarded Lin Yu as a godlike existence. Petty tricks, and you still dare to show off in front of me? Su Chen sneered. While Ding Xing was still absent-minded, he suddenly used the heaven-reaching hundredfold vigorous technique. With a sudden force, he directly seized the sky-splitting purple light spear. Ding Xing's expression changed dramatically. Losing the purple light heaven-splitting spear, his strength was greatly reduced, practically dropping to the freezing point. Not to mention killing Su Chen, he didn't even know if he could save his life. Human, who the hell are you? Ding Xing suppressed his fear and asked in a muffled voice. He didn't expect that such a super expert would appear among the thousands of clans. If he had known, he wouldn't have foolishly come in. At this moment, he was so regretful that his intestines turned green. Ant-like existence, what qualifications do you have to know my name? Su Chen snorted with contempt. Although Ding Xing was an expert at the God Realm 1-star, he was indeed no different from an ant in his eyes. If he wanted to kill Ding Xing, it would be as easy as moving his fingers. Ding Xing's face turned pale. Although he was compared to an ant, he couldn't refute. In front of a real super expert, he was indeed so small. Chapter 11:19. Where is Gubatian? Su Chen released his mind power and easily bound Ding Xing as he questioned coldly. At present, the only one who could pose a threat to him was Gubatian. Therefore, he paid close attention to Gubatian's movements. Human, kill me if you want. I won't say anything. Ding Xing gritted his teeth and glared angrily at Su Chen. He knew very well that there was no way out if he fell into Su Chen's hands. Since that was the case, he naturally wouldn't tell the truth. I admire your bravery, Su Chen said faintly, and a strange arc slowly appeared on the corner of his mouth. He didn't have many methods to deal with such a stubborn guy. He wasn't good at pulling tendons, skinning and sucking marrow, but breaking bones and chopping off limbs were still his forte. The next moment, Ding Xing's two arms were separated from his body amidst a shrill scream. If you continue to be stubborn, I will dismember you. Su Chen's face didn't change as he stared at Ding Xing and said indifferently, You're not human. You're a demon. Ding Xing was scared. He didn't fear death, but he couldn't withstand such cruel torture. Su Chen's face suddenly darkened as he punched out without warning and directly turned one of Ding Xing's thighs into powder. Ah! Ding Xing once again let out a miserable shriek. I'll give you one last chance. Su Chen narrowed his eyes as his voice gradually became cold. Gu-Bat-Ian is still in our vicious barbarian domain and can't enter your domain for the time being. Ding Sheng admitted defeat and hurriedly said. He was afraid that if he didn't answer in time, he would be mercilessly tortured by Su Chen. Hearing this, Su Chen's eyes flickered. The Gu-Bat-Ian that Ding Sheng was talking about should be Gu-Bat-Ian. As for the vicious barbarian domain, it was the world of ferocious beasts. And the Zhenhuan domain was the world they were in. Is it because the domain passage isn't stable and Gu-Bat-Ian can't enter the Zhenhuan domain? Su Chen asked. Before the domain passage was completely stable, there were restrictions. The stronger one was, the harder it was for them to pass. Thus, they began to suspect. Yes. Ding Sheng said directly. However, when he answered, his eyes flickered. Although it was very secretive, Su Chen's sharp senses had noticed it. Looks like if I don't teach you a lesson, you won't tell the truth. Su Chen snorted coldly and pretended to attack again. Don't touch me. Ding Sheng's expression changed drastically as he said in a trembling voice. The reason Sovereign Gu did not enter, aside from the fact that the passageway has not stabilized, is because he is currently refining a divine artifact armor. Moreover, he has reached a critical moment and will succeed very soon. Divine armor, Su Chen murmured, his brows furrowed. As a 3-star immortal realm expert, Gu-Bat-Ian already had a sword of piercing heaven. If he could successfully refine a divine armor, he would no longer have any weaknesses. He could be said to have both offense and defense. His strength had undoubtedly soared by a great deal, and it was even infinitely close to the level of the 5th star of the deity realm. It seems that I have to raise my cultivation base as soon as possible. Su Chen muttered. Knowing that Gu-Bat-Ian had 2 divine artifacts brought him a lot of pressure. However, as long as he advanced to the deity realm, he still had a great chance of dealing with Gu-Bat-Ian. Then, he calmed down and continued to ask, when will the 2-star immortal realm ferocious beasts from the vicious barbarian domain come? Continue to stabilize the domain passage for a period of time. They will be able to come in about a month. Ding Sheng began to explain honestly. Chapter 1120. 1 month. Su Chen's eyes flashed slightly, and then he punched out, smashing Ding Sheng's head. After collecting the fragments, he returned to the intelligent war chariot. Su Chen, I didn't expect you to be so powerful. Wu Tsang sighed with shock still lingering on his face. Su Chen hadn't reached the immortal state yet, but he could easily kill a 1-star immortal state beast with a divine artifact. Once he reached the immortal state, he might be able to fight Gu-Bat-Ian. Senior, you flatter me. Su Chen said politely. Su Chen, shouldn't we hurry up and seal the boundary passage? Wu Tsang reminded him again. Before Su Chen gave a clear answer, Ding Sheng had charged over. Senior, I don't plan to seal the boundary passage, Su Chen said seriously. He wasn't a coward. No matter who it was, as long as they dared to provoke him, he had no intention of backing down. Moreover, he was waiting for more beasts to come in so that he could take the opportunity to kill them and accumulate some energy points. Don't seal it? Wu Tsang and the other 2's faces changed. There were 100 immortal state beasts. Even if some were killed, there were still more than 80 left. Moreover, there was still Gu-Bat-Ian, a 3-star immortal state beast. Su Chen's strength was far beyond their imagination. But in their opinion, no matter how strong he was, he would never be Gu-Bat-Ian's match unless he reached the immortal state. Even if he reached the immortal state, he would at most be on par with Gu-Bat-Ian. Therefore, they couldn't understand Lin Yu's decision. Seniors, don't worry. Gu-Bat-Ian won't be able to enter in a short time. When he enters, I'll definitely reach the immortal state. In order to reassure Wu Tsang and the other 2, Lin Yu told them that he was about to reach the immortal state. He had just killed Ding Sheng and obtained 50,000 to 60,000 fragments. If he decomposed the sky-splitting purple light spear and converted it into energy points, he would be able to exchange for a level 22 full attribute fragment with the energy points he had accumulated. You're going to reach the immortal state? Wu Tsang and the other 2 were pleasantly surprised. With Su Chen's potential and endless means, once he reached the divine realm, even if he faced some divine realm 2 stars ferocious beasts, he would be able to easily crush them. In that case, there was indeed no need to seal the realm passage for the time being. Thinking of this, Wu Tsang breathed a sigh of relief, but he was still worried. He said, Su Chen, it's okay not to seal it for the time being, but before the domain passage is completely stabilized, it's best to seal it. Senior, as long as I reach the immortal state, I'm confident that I can deal with Gu Batian. Su Chen smiled. He thought that Wu Tsang was worried that he would not be Gu Batian's opponent. You only know one thing and not the other. Wu Tsang smiled bitterly and explained, Gu Batian is not only powerful, but he is also very meticulous. Once he learns that so many God-state ferocious beasts have died, he might not come here. Isn't it a good thing that he doesn't enter? Su Chen asked curiously. Wu Tsang said again, he won't enter alone, but he will definitely invite experts to come with him, and the experts he invites will not be weaker than him. Su Chen was stunned. Wasn't Gu Batian the only super expert among the ferocious beasts? Where could he invite experts of the same level? Could it be from other realms? Lin Yu suddenly had this idea. The universe was vast and boundless. Since there were the Zhenhuan realm and the vicious barbarian realm, there might be other realms. Thinking of this, he asked seriously, Senior, do you mean that Gu Batian will invite experts from other realms? Chapter 1121. Yes. Wu Tsang nodded and explained, there are 3 closest domains to our Zhenhuan domain, namely the Vicious Barbarian Domain, the Vast Thousand Domains, and the Twilight Domain. The Twilight Domain is a neutral domain, while the Vicious Barbarian Domain and the Vast Thousand Domains both want to invade our Zhenhuan domain. Experts from the Vast Thousand Domains participated in the war 10,000 years ago. Therefore, once Gu Batian sends out an invitation, the experts from the Vast Thousand Domains will not refuse. By then, you will not only be facing Gu Batian alone. Hearing this, Su Chen's face became serious. If it was only Gu Batian alone, he would not feel the slightest pressure. However, if it was 2 people like Gu Batian, he would not have the slightest confidence. Unless he could raise his cultivation to the level of God Realm 2 stars. However, if he wanted to raise his cultivation to God Realm 2 stars, he would need a huge amount of energy points, possibly as much as 2 million. It was almost impossible to gather 2 million energy points in such a short period of time. What should I do? Su Chen narrowed his eyes and pondered. At present, the God Realm experts around him were Wu Tsang, the awakened divine beast, and the godly puppet of the machinery race. The awakened divine beast was not good at fighting, and its real fighting strength was equivalent to that of a saint level 10. The godly puppet was also ordinary, and its fighting strength was very limited. As for Wu Tsang with the Starry Sky 10,000-year wheel, it could deal with an ordinary God Realm 1 star, but it would be difficult to deal with a God Realm 2 star. Therefore, he could not count on them and could only rely on himself. After pondering for a long time, Su Chen suddenly thought of the intelligent war chariot. The intelligent war chariot was only at level 21, and it was still far from its final form. It was not like the mechanical soldier, which was considered its final form at Saint level 10 and could not be upgraded anymore. However, the intelligent war chariot could continue to be upgraded. As long as it was upgraded to level 24, it could completely stop experts of Gu Batian's level. Then, he could take them out one by one and kill them one by one. However, the key point was that if the intelligent war chariot wanted to continue to upgrade, it no longer needed the mechanical heart, but an ore called Luan Qingjing. He did not have a single piece of Luan Qingjing on him, nor did he know where he had it. None of the people in the chaotic space knew about this. Even Venerable Xinyuan, an ancient powerhouse, did not know. From this, it could be seen how difficult it was to find Luan Qingjing. But for now, the only way to deal with Gu Batian was to help the intelligent chariot level up. Su Chen asked Wu Tsang, Senior, have you heard of Luan Qingjing? Luan Qingjing is a top-grade ore. Its main function is to help puppets evolve. Its value is even higher than a mechanical heart. Wu Tsang seemed to know Luan Qingjing very well as he slowly said, You know. Su Chen's eyes suddenly lit up and he asked, Senior, where can I find Luan Qingjing? Our Zhenhuan domain doesn't have it, but the Twilight domain should have it. Wu Tsang pondered for a moment before replying. Twilight domain, Su Chen whispered, then asked, Elder, is there a passage that connects to the Twilight domain? Since he knew the whereabouts of Luan Qingjing, he must make a trip to the Twilight domain. You want to go to the Twilight domain? Wu Tsang was shocked. Entering the Twilight domain, he was bound to encounter danger, and he may even die there. In addition, once Su Chen leaves, who will preside over the overall situation here? What if the beasts come in? Chapter 11:22. Yes. Su Chen nodded and explained, Luan Qingjing is too important to me. As long as I can find enough Luan Qingjing, I am confident that I can deal with Gu Batian and the others. Wu Tsang pondered for a while and said, Su Chen, just seal the domain passage. He still did not want Su Chen to take the risk. After all, Su Chen was related to the life and death of the myriad races. Once something happened to Su Chen, the myriad races and even the entire Zhenhuan domain would fall apart. Instead of taking the risk, it was better to seal the domain passage and end it all. Su Chen shook his head. Senior, if we retreat this time, we will never be able to stand up again. Moreover, if we seal the domain passage, how many years of peace will it bring us? 1,000 years or 10,000 years? If Gu Batian advances again or finds a way to open the domain passage and kills his way in, how will we face it? Hearing this, Wu Tsang's face became solemn. Although Su Chen's words were somewhat alarmist, there was indeed such a possibility. If that day really came, the Zhenhuan domain would fall into eternal damnation. Su Chen, if you leave, what if a God Realm 2-star beast kills his way in? Wu Tsang said worriedly. He had already approved of Su Chen going to the Twilight domain, but he had to consider the future. Once a God Realm 2-star beast kills his way in, he alone would not be able to resist at all. Su Chen had long planned. He smiled and said, Senior, don't worry, I will leave one of my avatars behind. The strength of the second primordial spirit was comparable to his. However, as a precaution, he would also leave behind 5,000 Thunder Sacred Swords. With the trump card, 10,000 swords in one, even if he faced Gu Batian, he would have a chance. In the short term, there would definitely be no problem. A avatar? Wu Tsang's brows knitted together. Of course, he had heard of avatars. When some powerful people felt that there was no hope of advancing, in order to increase their strength, many people would choose to refine an avatar. However, the average doppelganger would only have half of the original body strength. At most, it would not exceed 70%. Wasn't Su Chen taking things for granted by leaving behind a clone to deal with a Divine Realm 2 stars ferocious beast? Senior, this clone of mine is different from other clones. A meaningful smile appeared on Su Chen's face. In order to make Wu Tsang feel at ease, he decided to let his second primordial spirit reveal its strength. Different? Wu Tsang was stunned. Was there a difference between clones? He was very doubtful about this. Su Chen did not explain any further. He pointed at Star Source Island and said in a low voice, Senior, watch carefully. Wu Tsang and the other two's expressions tightened as they looked towards Star Source Island. All of a sudden, a 30-meter-tall figure appeared in the sky above Star Source Island. From his appearance, he looked exactly the same as Su Chen after his transformation. What was even more inconceivable was that the aura he emitted was at the 10th level of the saint rank. He actually possesses 100% of the original body's cultivation. Wu Tsang's face was filled with shock. At this moment he finally understood why Su Chen said that his avatar was different. This was because a clone with the same strength as the original body was simply unheard of. It completely subverted his understanding. At this moment, the second primordial spirit standing in the sky above Star Source Island glanced down and punched out. In an instant, 100 millstone-sized golden fist shadows appeared in the air. Every fist shadow exuded an energy fluctuation that could destroy the heavens and earth. What a terrifying fist technique! Seeing this scene, Wu Tsang smacked his lips. Chapter 11:23. 100 golden fist shadows floated in the air and then flew towards Star Source Island like meteors. Boom, boom, boom. In the next moment, there was a loud noise on Star Source Island. It was as if 100 volcanoes had erupted at the same time, showing a scene of destruction. "It's too terrifying." Wu Song and the other two were stunned. They were deeply shocked by the fact that a mere fist technique could produce such devastating destructive power. It was true that the Pegasus Meteor Fist was just a very ordinary fist technique. If it was used by others, it would definitely not have such power. Su Chen was different. Not only did he have the ancient god fiend body, but he had also consumed the sturdy fruit many times. His physical body was as strong as a sage artifact. It was reasonable for the power of the Pegasus Meteor Fist to increase. However, no matter how powerful the Pegasus Meteor Fist was, it was impossible to kill all the void beasts on Star Source Island. After all, the area of Star Source Island was too large, comparable to a small continent. Su Chen did not expect the second primordial spirit to be able to destroy the void beasts on Star Source Island. Then, he opened the chaos space and the pet breeding space. He summoned Qi Mufeng, the others, and all their spiritual pets. Wu Song was extremely surprised to see so many saint-level powerhouses. Venerable Xinyuan also frowned. Qi Qingchuan was relatively calm. After all, he had been in contact with Su Chen for a long time and had also stayed in the chaos space for a long time. He knew very well who was around Su Chen. "Junior brother Su, what are your orders?" Leng Mai took the lead and asked. After staying in the secret realm for 100 years and staying in the chaos space after coming out, they were a little bored. Su Chen stretched out his hand and pointed at Star Source Island, ordering, "Let's go together and kill all the void beasts on Star Source Island." Kill. Everyone and their spiritual pets rushed towards Star Source Island excitedly. They were all saint-level powerhouses, and many of them were at stage 10. In the face of this force, not to mention the void beasts on Star Source Island, even a one-star deity realm expert would have to think twice. In order to speed up the hunt, Su Chen opened his storage bag and summoned the mechanical soldier, the golden puppet, and the godly puppet to join the hunt. Su Chen and the godly puppet. Wu Song and the other two were once again shocked by Su Chen's methods. "Senior, please wait here for a moment. I'll be right back." Su Chen smiled faintly. Then, under the gaze of Wu Song and the other two, he landed on Star Source Island. With the addition of Su Chen, the speed of killing the void beasts increased. In less than 2 hours, the millions of void beasts on the huge Star Source Island were all slaughtered. Not a single one managed to escape alive. However, although many void beasts were killed, the fragments that were dropped were only a few 100,000. Su Chen collected all the fragments and exchanged them for energy points. Then he spent 1.5 million energy points to raise his cultivation level to God Realm 1 star. "I've finally advanced." Su Chen let out a long sigh of relief. After advancing to the deity realm, he was confident. Now, even if he faced Gubadian, he was confident that he could kill him. After a while, he returned to the intelligent war chariot. In order to boost Wu Song's confidence, he did not hide his violent aura at all. Chapter 1124. Su Chen, have you ascended to the divine state? Sensing the change in Su Chen's aura, Wu Song and the other two's eyes almost popped out. Previously, when Su Chen said that he would soon ascend to the divine state, they only took it as a joke and did not take it to heart at all. Who would have thought that Su Chen would ascend to the divine state as if it was as simple as eating and drinking? "I just ascended." Su Chen smiled faintly. "My God." After receiving Su Chen's affirmative answer, Venerable Xinyuan opened his mouth wide and shouted in his heart, "A peerless genius." He remembered clearly that when he left the Void Secret Realm, Su Chen was clearly only a stage 10 sacred grade. In just a few days, he had ascended to the divine state. This kind of advancement speed was simply insane and terrifying to the extreme. Venerable Xinyuan was in a trance. Back then, he was also known as a 1-in-a-million cultivation prodigy. However, it took him thousands of years to ascend from stage 10 sacred grade to the divine state, and he had consumed countless cultivation resources. On the other hand, Su Chen had easily ascended to the divine state. The gap between the two was like the difference between heaven and earth, like the difference between clouds and mud. Thousands of races have produced such a monstrous genius like Su Chen. What is a mere fierce beast? Venerable Xin Yuan was incomparably excited. Wu Tsang and Qi Qingchuan were also inexplicably excited. With Su Chen's strength, he was invincible in the same realm and could easily kill enemies of a higher realm. Even if he were to fight one-on-one with Gubadian, he still had some chance of winning. As a result, the pressure brought to them by the vicious barbarian domain was greatly reduced. Of course, it was not realistic to completely change the passive situation in a short period of time. However, they finally saw a glimmer of hope. Su Chen put away his smile, faced Wu Tsang, and said in a low voice, "Elder, is there a passage connecting to the Twilight Domain?" After ascending to the divine state, the second primordial spirit could completely guard the domain passage. Then, going to the Twilight Domain to find Luan Qingjing would have to be put on the agenda. Although we don't have much contact with the Twilight Domain, there is indeed a domain passage between us, Wu Tsang said slowly. He more or less understood Su Chen's character. Once he made up his mind, no one could stop him. Since that was the case, he didn't try to persuade him anymore. Su Chen's eyes lit up as he hurriedly asked, "Senior, where is the domain passage?" "Wind Rider Island, within the snowy mountain range." Wu Tsang replied and then reminded him, "There is a weapon spirit guarding the entrance of the domain passage. Only those who have his approval can enter." "Artifact spirit?" Su Chen raised his eyebrows. This was the first time he had heard the name of an artifact spirit. He could not help but look at Wu Tsang, waiting for his explanation. Wu Tsang said quickly, "A weapon spirit is a godly weapon. The weapon spirit in the Shuiyu mountain range is a spiritual mountain. In the Great War 10,000 years ago, its master fell and its body was severely damaged. In the end, only the artifact spirit managed to escape. However, although it has lost its body, its strength cannot be underestimated. It has at least a God Realm 1-star cultivation base." Hearing this, Su Chen was a little puzzled. Why didn't the purple light sky-splitting spear that he had snatched from Ding Xing have a weapon spirit? Thinking of this, he asked, "Senior, don't all divine weapons have a weapon spirit?" The probability of a divine weapon being able to give birth to a weapon spirit is very low, and once it has a weapon spirit, the power that the divine weapon can exert will definitely be raised to a higher level, Wu Tsang explained. Oh! Su Chen suddenly understood, and a thought suddenly came to his mind. He continued to ask, "Senior, if I find a suitable divine weapon body for the weapon spirit, is it possible to promote this divine weapon to a divine weapon?" His integrated 5 Extremes mountain was a top divine weapon, and was also a spiritual mountain. It was very compatible with the original body of the weapon spirit. If he could integrate the weapon spirit into the integrated 5 Extremes mountain, there may be unexpected gains. Chapter 11:25. If the compatibility is perfect, even if it can't be promoted to a divine artifact, the power it can unleash will definitely reach the level of a divine artifact, Wu Tsang said slowly. Hearing this, Su Chen's lips slowly curled up. Since the weapon spirit could increase the power of a divine artifact, whether it could be promoted to a divine artifact or not, he had to give it a try. Seeing Su Chen's expression, Wu Tsang vaguely guessed something and probed, "Su Chen, are you betting on the weapon spirit?" Su Chen did not hide and said, "I have a divine artifact of the spiritual mountain and want to try." "It's okay to try." Wu Tsang nodded and then reminded, "But you must not use force. Once the weapon spirit is angered, it may even self-destruct." Once Su Chen's divine artifact merged with the weapon spirit, its strength would definitely increase again. This was what he wanted to see. But the weapon spirit of the Snow Mountain range was not something that could be subdued. Once it self-destructed, the entire Wind Guard Island would be destroyed and Su Chen would not be able to go to the Twilight region through the domain passage there. Understood. Su Chen responded. In any case, The artifact spirit had the cultivation of deity realm 1 star. This kind of existence usually had its own dignity. If he forced it, it would only be counterproductive. He would only give it a try. If the weapon spirit did not agree, it could only be said that it was not fate yet. Suchen, when do you plan to go to Windguard Island? The matter of the weapon spirit had come to an end and Wu Tsang asked about business. The sooner the better. I plan to leave now. Suchen thought for a moment and replied. Considering that it would take a long time to enter the Twilight region, he had to hurry. Do you need me to go with you? Wu Tsang asked again. No, I can do it alone, Suchen replied. After all, Wu Tsang was the lord of all races and he could discuss matters with the second primordial spirit. Later, after getting the specific coordinates of Windguard Island from Wu Tsang, Suchen drove the intelligent war chariot and quickly flew to Windguard Island. Before he left, he only left his second primordial spirit behind. As for the others, they were all kept in the primal chaos space by his side. Windrider Island was very far away from Star Source Island. However, after the intelligent war chariot was upgraded to level 20, its speed was as fast as lightning. He estimated that he would arrive at Windrider Island in 3 days. On the way, Suchen did not stay idle. He exchanged all the remaining energy points for constitution potions and gave them to the illusionary blazing feather divine dragon, pushing its cultivation to the 3rd stage of the holy rank in one fell swoop. Although there was still an unreachable distance from advancing to the divine realm, it was always good to be able to see progress. 3 days later, the intelligent war chariot successfully arrived at Windrider Island. Under the swift bird's perception, it quickly found the specific location of the interdomain passage, and also discovered an unusually powerful existence. There was no doubt that this existence was the artifact spirit. After the intelligent chariot stopped on a snowy mountain, Suchen opened the door and walked out. Standing in midair, he narrowed his eyes and glanced down, saying loudly, "Senior artifact spirit, Suchen of the human race is here to meet you." Another divine realm expert has advanced among the all races? Suddenly, a soft sound of surprise floated from the depths of the snowy mountain and echoed in Suchen's ears. Then, a green light shot out from the snowy mountain and flew to Suchen, condensing in front of him and finally turning into a giant cyan ape that was 100 feet tall. Chapter 1126. Suchen, what are you here for? The giant cyan ape looked at Suchen with great interest and asked in a low voice. Elder, I want to use the domain passage here to go to the Twilight Domain, Suchen said bluntly. Because the giant cyan ape had participated in the Great War 10,000 years ago, he was still very respectful to the giant cyan ape. You want to go to the Twilight Domain? The giant cyan ape frowned and then said disdainfully, I advise you to give up this idea. But Suchen was puzzled. He was bound to go to the Twilight Domain, and no one could stop him. Originally, he thought that it would be a very simple matter to borrow the domain passage. Unexpectedly, the giant cyan ape wanted to stop him. Do you know how dangerous the Twilight Domain is? The giant cyan ape sighed and continued, Don't think that just because you have advanced to the divine realm, you can dominate. In this world, there are many people stronger than you. I am sure that as soon as you step into the Twilight Domain, you will soon be destroyed. The Twilight Domain is so dangerous? Suchen was a little puzzled and asked, Elder, can you tell me the specific situation? With his current strength, even if he encountered Gubatian, he was confident that he could defeat or kill him. Could it be that there was an existence more powerful than Gubatian in the Twilight Domain? There are many Divine Realm experts in the Twilight Domain, and the strongest are 2 Divine Realm experts. Moreover, these 2 Divine Realm experts are leading their subordinates in a war. The Twilight Domain is now in a state of chaos. You, an outsider, have stepped in. No matter which side sees you, they will kill you. The giant cyan ape explained. Suchen was just a newly advanced Divine Realm martial artist. Not to mention that he was no match for a Divine Realm 3-star martial artist. Even if he encountered a Divine Realm 2-star martial artist, it was unknown whether he could survive. The Twilight Domain is so powerful? Su Chen's expression flickered. There were 2 Divine Realm experts in the Twilight Domain, which was stronger than the vicious Barbarian Domain and the vast Thousand Domains. Fortunately, there was internal strife, otherwise the other domains would have been invaded by the Twilight Domain. How is it? Have you changed your mind now? The giant Cyan ape asked calmly. In his view, by pointing out the strength and dangers of the Twilight Domain, Su Chen would definitely change his mind. Senior, I still have to make a trip to the Twilight Domain, Su Chen said firmly. You still want to go? The giant Cyan ape didn't understand and asked, Aren't you afraid of death? Su Chen smiled faintly. Senior, don't worry. 3 stars of the Divine Realm can't threaten me. He didn't care about 1 God Realm 3 stars, but if he encountered 2 of them, even if he couldn't defeat them, they definitely couldn't kill him. Moreover, the 2 Divine Realm 3 stars of the Twilight Domain were in internal strife and would not join forces. In this way, there would not be the slightest problem in the Twilight Domain. You sure know how to brag. The giant Cyan ape's expression turned ugly. His original intention was also for the good of Su Chen. He did not want Su Chen to go to the Twilight Domain and die in vain. Who would have thought that Su Chen was such a boastful person? 1 star of the Divine Realm wanted to fight against a 3 star of the Mind God Realm? It was simply ridiculous. Su Chen rubbed his nose and said very calmly, Senior, although I am 1 star of the Divine Realm, my real combat strength is far beyond that of the same level. Even against Gubatian, I have great confidence that I can kill him. Hearing this, the giant Cyan ape's expression froze for a moment before he burst into laughter. 1 star of the Divine Realm killing a 3 star of the Divine Realm? Even in his dreams, he wouldn't dare to think so. Su Chen, there is always someone better than you. You haven't seen the power of a 3 star of the Divine Realm. When you see it, it will be too late to regret. The giant Cyan ape stopped laughing, shook his head and sighed. Su Chen did not seem to be very old. To be able to advance to the Divine Realm at this age, he indeed had the right to be proud. But to kill a 3 star of the Divine Realm was tantamount to wishful thinking. Chapter 1127. Senior, why don't you spar with me? Su Chen suggested. The giant Cyan ape was obviously looking down on him. If he didn't show some strength, it would be difficult to enter the Twilight Domain. You want to spar with me? The giant Cyan ape's eyes widened, with a look of surprise on his face. It was true that he was only a tool spirit now, but after all, he had experienced the Great War 10,000 years ago. His combat experience was extremely rich, and his strength was far beyond his peers. Su Chen was just a newly ascended Divine Realm expert, but he dared to spar with him. He was overestimating himself. However, he then thought that as long as he defeated Su Chen and let Su Chen realize that there was always someone better than him, he would give up going to the Twilight Domain. In this way, it could also be considered to have saved Su Chen's life in disguise. Thinking of this, he said faintly, I promise, you can use all your strength, I won't hurt you. Use all his strength? Su Chen shook his head and couldn't help but smile bitterly. The giant Cyan ape obviously didn't know his bottom line. If he used all his strength, he would be killed in one move. Su Chen naturally wouldn't do this. He chuckled, Senior, then I won't be polite. Bring it on. The giant Cyan ape didn't care, and there was even a trace of contempt in his eyes. Su Chen didn't talk anymore. A purple light flashed under his feet, and he disappeared in place. When he appeared again, he had already arrived in front of the giant Cyan ape. At the same time, his mental power was released instantly, and he launched a drunken life from a distance. What a fast speed! The giant Cyan ape raised his eyebrows. When he was about to counterattack, his soul suddenly shook, and he fell into confusion. However, he was a veteran expert after all. His willpower was extremely tough, and he soon broke free. You want to trap me with a mere divine ability? The giant Cyan ape chuckled disdainfully. But the next moment his face suddenly changed. At this time, he clearly felt that his whole body was bound by an invisible force. The power was so great that he couldn't move. Mental power. You're actually a God Realm Spirit Reader Master. The giant cyan ape lost its voice and roared in shock. Its heart was in turmoil. Even in ancient times, deity realm powerhouses with dual occupations were also existences that were as rare as phoenix feathers and unicorn horns. Every single one of them had strength that far surpassed those of the same level, and their reputations were awe-inspiring. He had never thought that Su Chen would actually be so powerful. Moreover, Su Chen's spiritual energy was definitely not as simple as one star of the divine realm, because the spiritual energy of a one star of the godly realm was absolutely unable to restrict him to such an extent. It was also at this moment that Su Chen pointed a pitch-black longsword at the giant azure ape and said indifferently, "Senior, do you still want to continue? You actually have a Space Saint artifact." Sensing the terrifying space-tearing power from the Chaos sky-splitting sword, the giant cyan ape swallowed hard with a complicated look on its face. At first, he did not put Su Chen in his eyes at all. Unexpectedly, he was completely crushed by Su Chen as soon as he made a move. He could be said to be powerless to resist. It was equivalent to being slapped hard in the face, and he was utterly humiliated. "I've lost." The giant cyan ape sighed deeply. Although he was extremely unwilling in his heart, the truth was right in front of him, and he had to admit it. "Senior, thank you for letting me win." Su Chen smiled faintly and took back his spiritual energy and the Chaos sky-splitting sword. Then, he said again, "Senior, this time you should rest assured that I'll enter the sight region, right?" Chapter 11:28. There are many existences stronger than me in the Twilight Domain. You can defeat me, but it doesn't mean you can defeat others. Moreover, I am just a weapon spirit who has lost my body. If there is a suitable body, you will definitely not be my opponent." The giant cyan ape said in a very unconvinced manner. In fact, after seeing Su Chen's strength, he thought that Su Chen shouldn't have too much of a problem entering the Twilight Domain. However, it was not easy for a powerhouse like Su Chen to appear in the myriad races. He didn't want Su Chen to take the risk. He was also thinking of ways to stop Su Chen from going. A suitable body? The speaker didn't mean it, but the listener took it seriously. Su Chen's eyes flickered, and his thoughts slowly turned. Originally, he had the idea of subduing a weapon spirit. Wasn't this the right time? "Senior, I happen to have a suitable body for you. You might as well give it a try," Su Chen said calmly. The giant cyan ape raised his eyebrows, looked at Su Chen in a daze, and said disdainfully, "Do you know what kind of body I need? Do you think some mediocre things can enter my eyes?" Although he was just a weapon spirit, he was still very proud in his heart. To be suitable for his body, it must be a sacred weapon like a spirit mountain or a sacred weapon. And the quality must also be very high. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to exert his full strength. There were very few such things in the world, and he didn't think that Su Chen would have them. "Senior, do you think this is suitable?" Su Chen smiled faintly, then raised his hand and threw out the original 5 Extremes mountain. As soon as the original 5 Extremes mountain appeared, it instantly turned into 100 feet in size. It shone with 5 different colors, exuding magical fluctuations of 5 different attributes, giving people an unusually strong sense of shock. 5 Elements Spirit Mountain. You actually have such a good thing. The giant cyan ape's eyes widened, and there was a strange color in his eyes. As a weapon spirit, he naturally hoped to find a suitable body. Although he had yet to come into contact with the integrated 5 Extremes mountain, he had an inexplicable feeling that it would definitely fit perfectly with the integrated 5 Extremes mountain. Immediately, he became excited. Looking at the giant green ape's expression, Su Chen's lips curled into an imperceptible smile. He then said indifferently, "Senior, why don't you give it a try?" "Su Chen, why do I feel like you planned this all along?" The giant green ape calmed down and said in a deep voice. Was it a coincidence that Su Chen could take out a spiritual mountain that was so compatible with him, or was it intentional? This caused him to mutter in his heart. "Senior, you worry too much. If you don't want to try it, I'll just put it away," Su Chen said casually. Through the changes in the giant cyan ape's expression, he determined that the giant cyan ape was definitely tempted and would not miss the opportunity to obtain a suitable main body. "Wait a minute." The giant cyan ape stopped him loudly and said, "There's no harm in trying." As soon as he finished speaking, he turned into a green light again and shot into the original 5 Extremes mountain. All of a sudden, there was a series of cracking sounds. The original 5 Extremes mountain suddenly expanded to a size of 200 feet, and with a series of changes, it once again turned into the form of a giant ape. Compared to the previous giant cyan ape, the giant ape at this time was much bigger, and its entire body was surrounded by 5-colored flowing light, and an extremely terrifying pressure spread out from it. Judging from its aura, it had reached the level of God Realm 2 stars. Chapter 1129. Ha, it's really very suitable. I haven't experienced this feeling for a long time. The 5-colored giant ape laughed heartily. Seeing this, Su Chen's eyes also emitted a crystal light. The weapon spirit and the integrated 5 Extremes mountain were perfectly compatible. Most of them were reluctant to leave the integrated 5 Extremes mountain. And the integrated 5 Extremes mountain was his. In this way, the weapon spirit was equivalent to being subdued. The power of the integrated 5 Extremes mountain that had integrated with the weapon spirit had greatly increased, and his strength had also risen along with it. At this moment, he was both excited and excited. "Su Chen, do you dare to fight with me now?" The 5-colored giant ape looked straight at Su Chen and vowed, "As long as you can defeat me, you can enter and exit the passage to the Twilight Domain." Although he was only at the God Realm 2 stars, his real combat strength was comparable to the God Realm 3 stars. If Su Chen could really defeat him, entering the Twilight Domain would absolutely not be the slightest problem. "Senior, I also want to make a bet with you," Su Chen said after a slight thought. "A bet?" The 5-colored giant ape pondered for a moment, and then said, "Let's hear it." Su Chen coughed lightly and said solemnly, "If I can't defeat Senior, the integrated 5 Extremes mountain will be given to Senior. Otherwise, I hope that Senior will follow me." To completely subdue the weapon spirit, he must make it willing. And defeating it through a bet was also fair and square. For an existence like the weapon spirit, as long as it agreed, it would not go back on its word. "Good boy, you actually have this idea." The 5-colored giant ape snorted, and then said with a smile, "I agree." He had thought it through. Whether he won or lost, it was actually good for him. If he won, he could get a perfectly compatible body. If he lost, it would prove that Su Chen was definitely a rare super genius in the world. Following such a character was not a shameful thing. Of course, he did not think that Su Chen had the ability to defeat him. Su Chen was overjoyed and said with a smile, "Since Senior has agreed, then Junior won't be polite." As soon as he finished speaking, he directly used the Atlas shape-shifting technique. After his body soared to 10 feet, his cultivation instantly advanced to the God Realm 2 stars. And the terrifying aura emanating from his body was even stronger than the 5-colored giant ape. Shape-shifting technique. God Realm 2 stars. Seeing this, the 5-colored ape's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. He never thought that Su Chen actually had such a trump card. In this way, there might really be a possibility of defeating him. However, the 5-colored giant ape was also a proud and haughty individual. How could it be suppressed by Su Chen's aura? Soon after, a strong fighting spirit was emitted from his body. Su Chen's, as a battle. The 5-colored giant ape roared, clenched a huge fist, and smashed down towards Su Chen from the air. U5's strange smile flashed across Su Chen's mouth. Immediately after, he directly used the 100 times great strength technique and golden scale arm. He also clenched a golden fist and directly bombarded the 5-colored giant ape. "You're still too young." The 5-colored giant ape sighed softly. After fusing with the integrated 5 Extremes mountain, his defensive power was comparable to a divine weapon, and his strength had increased several times. It was no exaggeration to say that even a God Realm 3 stars strength was inferior to his. Su Chen actually chose to fight him head-on. He was simply overestimating himself. In the next moment, the two huge fists collided without any fancy moves. A loud rumble shook heaven and earth. The entire Wind Rider Island trembled violently. Chapter 1130. The five-colored ape suddenly felt an invincible force attacking it. Before it could react, it was blasted away like a shooting star. Rumble. On the way, it crashed through dozens of tall mountains. It flew for more than 1,000 meters before it stopped. Fortunately, its defense was comparable to a divine weapon. This level of impact was not enough to cause much damage to it. However, it was inevitable that it would embarrass itself. "Good boy, why are you so powerful?" The five-colored ape quickly flew out. It widened its eyes and stared at Su Chen. Its eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. After merging with the integrated Five Extremes Mountain, its power had surpassed the level of a 3-star immortal realm cultivator. However, in front of Su Chen, it was like an ant trying to shake a tree. They were not on the same level at all. Su Chen was only a human. How could he have such divine power? "It's just a little trick. Senior, please don't laugh at me," Su Chen said lightly. After seeing that the five-colored ape was unscathed, he was not shocked but delighted. The more powerful the five-colored ape was, the more help it would be to him. At this moment, he was even more determined to subdue the five-colored ape. "A little trick?" The five-colored ape's face darkened. It said unhappily, "So, you still have some tricks that you haven't used?" After being sent flying by Su Chen's punch, it was clear that it was no match for Su Chen. However, it was impossible for it to admit defeat so easily. "Senior, if you don't admit defeat, I can still take a look at it." Su Chen smiled faintly. The five-colored ape was obviously not convinced. Since that was the case, he might as well beat it until it was convinced. "How arrogant! Then I'll take a look." The five-colored ape roared. In the next moment, a stream of five-colored flowing light condensed on its fist. It emitted 5 different magical waves of different attributes. Its aura was unusually powerful. "Su Chen, take this." When the five-colored flowing light condensed to the extreme, the five-colored ape raised its hand and punched out. There was a loud explosion. The five-colored flowing light shot out like a five-colored river of stars, heading straight for Su Chen. In the face of such a violent attack, Su Chen's expression did not change at all. Since his debut, he had seen all kinds of storms and waves. Although the power of the five-colored flowing light was terrifying in his view, it was only twice as powerful as Ding Xing using the heaven-splitting violet light spear. At that time, when he was only at the deity realm 1-star, he dared to fight with his bare hands. Now that he had reached the level of God realm 2 stars, he didn't care about them at all. And this time, he still had to take it with his bare hands. Firstly, he had the confidence to do so. Secondly, he could use this to completely intimidate the five-colored giant ape. Petty tricks. Su Chen smiled contemptuously. He released his spiritual power and wrapped it around his hand. At the same time, he raised his golden palm and grabbed forward. "What do you want?" The five-colored giant ape was dumbfounded. It was true that it wanted to compete with Su Chen, but it definitely didn't want Su Chen to get hurt because of this. But now, Su Chen actually wanted to take the five-colored flowing light with his bare hands. Wasn't he courting death? However, the five-colored flowing light had already been shot out. It was absolutely impossible to stop it. Did it have to watch Su Chen get blown to death? The five-colored giant ape was annoyed. It shouted anxiously, "Su Chen, dodge quickly." Hearing this, Su Chen was unmoved. In the next moment, the five-colored flowing light hit Su Chen's palm heavily. However, the expected scene of Su Chen being blown to pieces did not happen. Instead, the five-colored flowing light was directly crushed by Su Chen after he grabbed it. That feeling was like pinching a balloon and bursting it. There was a loud bang. It did not cause any damage to Su Chen at all. Chapter 1131. Oh my God! The five-colored ape's eyes widened, and its jaw almost dropped. Taking his strongest attack head-on with his bare hands was something that even a God Realm 3 stars expert wouldn't dare to think about. However, Su Chen did it, and he looked very relaxed. How strong was Su Chen's physical defense? The five-colored ape stared at Su Chen in a daze, and for a moment, it fell into a trance. Senior, you've attacked twice in a row. This time, it's my turn to attack. Su Chen reminded it with a smile. Since he wanted to beat the five-colored ape into submission, he had to attack at least once. You still have some tricks up your sleeve? The five-colored ape was shocked. Su Chen's unparalleled strength and strong defense had already made it feel incredible. Did he have other tricks up his sleeve? Senior, if you admit defeat, I don't mind. Su Chen smiled but didn't say anything. Bring it on. The five-colored ape gritted its teeth and said. His two attacks were easily neutralized by Su Chen, and he was also angry. He didn't believe that Su Chen could crush him with his defense that was comparable to a divine artifact. Then I won't hold back. The corners of Su Chen's mouth curled up, and then he displayed the 10,000 lights 10 shadows fighting technique. In an instant, 10 shadows that looked exactly like him appeared in the air, and each of them exuded an extremely violent aura. In addition to the 10,000 swords in one and the astral storm, the 10,000 lights fighting skill and the combination of 3 types of magic could be considered a second-grade attack. The 10,000 lights 10 shadows fighting technique was even more shocking, and it was perfect to deal with the five-colored giant ape. What kind of magic is this? The five-colored ape opened its eyes wide, and its body trembled slightly. Originally, it was very confident in its defense. However, after seeing 10 Su Chen appear at once, its confidence was completely shattered. 1 Su Chen was enough to make him suffer. 11 Su Chens joining forces to attack him, wouldn't he be blasted into ashes? At this moment, it was extremely anxious and was considering whether to surrender or not. Suddenly, it sensed several types of magic fluctuations. What was going on? The five-colored ape's expression froze, and it subconsciously looked up. When it saw the 5 Su Chens releasing their respective spells, its eyelids twitched violently. Spiritual psychic? Su Chen was also an all-element spiritual psychic, and he had reached the divine state. At that moment, the five-colored ape's thoughts came to a halt. Thinking that Su Chen was a divine state evolver and a spiritual psychic, didn't that mean that Su Chen was a full-time cultivator? And he had reached the divine state? It was terrifying. Since ancient times, there had never been such a monster. Stop. I admit defeat. Realizing that Su Chen was a full-time divine state existence, the five-colored ape no longer cared about its face and shouted loudly. Su Chen smiled faintly and stopped what he was doing. His main purpose was to subdue the weapon spirit. So far, it seemed that he had left an indelible impression on the other party. Since he had achieved his goal, there was no need to make a move. Soon, the 10 phantoms disappeared in midair. Su Chen also stopped the atlas shape-shifting and returned to his original appearance. Su Chen, are you really a human? The five-colored ape looked at Su Chen and probed. The human race could only be regarded as a very ordinary race. How could there be a peerless genius like Su Chen? It now suspected that Su Chen was a descendant of one of those super races. It's the real deal. Su Chen said affirmatively. Although he had transmigrated, he was indeed a human. There was no doubt about that. Chapter 1132. It's really the human race, the five-colored giant ape muttered involuntarily. 10,000 years ago, the human race also had several godly state experts and was considered a large race among the tens of thousands of races. But no matter who it was, the difference between them and Su Chen was not small. They were not on the same level at all. Senior, shouldn't we go to the Twilight Domain? Su Chen took a breath and said. Time waits for no man. Since the artifact spirit had been subdued, he had to hurry up and get down to business. The five-colored giant ape recovered and asked, Su Chen, why do you want to enter the Twilight Domain? He had wanted to ask about this for a long time but never had the chance. Since he had decided to follow Su Chen, there were some things that he naturally had to ask. Su Chen did not hide anything and told him about the invasion of the Zhenhuan domain by the vicious barbarian domain and the search for Luan Qingjing in the Twilight domain. I see. The five-colored giant ape came to a realization and was filled with respect for Su Chen. In the face of the oppression of the two domains, Su Chen did not shrink back and did not give up the Zhenhuan domain. This was the same as what they did to resist the invasion of the vicious barbarian domain 10,000 years ago. Moreover, the pressure Su Chen had to bear was even heavier because he was fighting against two domains alone. Senior, do you know Luan Qingjing? Su Chen asked. The Twilight domain was vaster than the Zhenhuan domain. If he did not have an accurate target and searched everywhere, he did not know how long it would take to find her. Time did not allow him to do so at all. There should be Luan Qingjing in the Qinghe clan. The five-colored giant ape thought for a moment and said, "The Qinghe clan," Su Chen whispered and asked, "Senior, how is the relationship between the Qinghe clan and our Zhenhuan domain?" The five-colored giant ape had said before that there were only two races in the Twilight domain and they had fallen into internal strife. If the relationship between the Qinghe clan and the Zhenhuan domain was good, they could join forces with the Qinghe clan to destroy the other race. In return, the Qinghe clan should give him some Luan Qingjing. There was even a high possibility that they could invite the Qinghe clan's god realm 3 stars to help them. The Qinghe clan has a pretty good relationship with us, the five-colored ape said slowly. That makes things easier. Su Chen nodded and asked, "What about the other race?" The other clan is called the Red Devil clan. They are closer to the ferocious barbarian domain and are hostile to us. If it weren't for the Qinghe clan, they might have joined forces with the ferocious barbarian domain to deal with us, the five-colored giant ape said. Hearing this, Su Chen's eyes flashed with a cold light. He had originally planned to join forces with the Qinghe clan to destroy the Red Devil clan. When he learned that the Red Devil clan was hostile to the Zhenhuan domain, he had an excuse to do so. "Senior, there's no time to lose. Let's go to the Twilight domain," Su Chen said. The five-colored ape nodded and turned back into a palm-sized five-colored mountain. It flew into Su Chen's hand. His body was too big. If he did not shrink, he would not be able to pass through the domain passage. Su Chen put away the intelligent war chariot and held the five-colored mountain with one hand. He went into the domain passage and soon disappeared. After a whirlwind, Lin Yu appeared in a stone cave. It was dark all around and it was difficult to see with the naked eye. However, for Su Chen who had mental strength, it was the same whether there was light or not. Through the observation of his mental strength, Su Chen quickly found the exit and left the stone cave. The moment he came out, he suddenly found that he was in a group of meteorites. Chapter 1133. Su Chen narrowed his eyes and glanced around. He quickly took out the intelligent war chariot and said, "Satoshi, search the surroundings." The intelligent war chariot began to search quickly. After a few breaths, it replied, "Master, there are tens of thousands of aliens fighting on a huge island 1,000 kilometers away from the meteorite group." Hearing this, Su Chen's heart skipped a beat. In the Twilight domain, the aliens fighting each other must be the Qinghe clan and the Red Demon clan. Thinking of this, he continued to order, "Satoshi, check the strongest among them." Soon, the intelligent war chariot replied, "Master, the strongest are 2 3-star God Realm experts. In addition, there are dozens of 1-star and 2-star God Realm experts." "There are 3-star God Realm experts?" Su Chen's expression froze. He had learned from the device spirit that the Qinghe clan and the Red Demon clan each had a 3-star God Realm expert. This meant that on that island, these two major clans were likely to have an ultimate showdown. However, it was still unknown which of the two clans was stronger for the time being. Su Chen pondered for a while and said, "Satoshi, go into flight mode and transmit the image." The intelligent war chariot soon became dozens of meters in size. Su Chen entered it and looked at the central control screen first. On a gigantic island in the void, the entire sky was filled with scenes of the mutated races slaughtering one another. The lowest cultivation level of these aliens was at the sage stage. The battle was also extremely fierce. From time to time, someone would be blown up and die on the spot. Su Chen noticed that the side that had the absolute initiative was a 2-meter-tall alien with dark red skin and 2 long and narrow ears. The ones who were in a passive position were some aliens with bluish skin and relatively short ears. Most of the people who were killed were their clansmen. Because Su Chen had never seen the Qinghe clan and the Red Demon clan, he could not tell them apart for the time being. After thinking for a moment, he said to the 5-colored mountain in his hand, "Senior, take a look at the central control screen. Which side is the Qinghe clan?" The 5-colored mountain flashed, and 2 eyes as big as copper bells appeared from within. They glanced at the central control screen and replied, "Su Chen, those green-skinned ones are from the Qinghe clan. In that case, the Qinghe clan has fallen into a passive position." Su Chen's eyes showed a thoughtful look. Since the Qinghe clan was in a passive position, he would be providing timely assistance if he went over to help. After defeating the Red Demon clan, it should not be a big problem to ask for some Wanqing crystals from the Qinghe clan. Su Chen, the patriarch of the Qinghe clan, Zhang Qingquan, is in danger. The artifact spirit suddenly reminded. Su Chen hurriedly looked at the central control screen and saw a white-haired elder from the Qinghe clan being slashed to the island by a man from the Red Demon clan who was the size of a small mountain. The violent impact shattered a large part of the island, and the shock wave also affected hundreds of Qinghe clan members, tearing them into pieces on the spot. After landing, Zhang Qingquan opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was dispirited. After suffering such a heavy blow, he was obviously seriously injured. Is the Red Demon clan's 3-star god realms so strong? Su Chen frowned slightly. They were both 3-star god realm, but Zhang Qingquan was beaten until he almost lost his ability to fight. The difference in strength was too great. The artifact spirit reminded, Zhang Qingquan and Pang Hui of the Red Demon clan are about the same in strength. The reason why he was crushed is very likely that Pang Hui's saber is a top-grade divine weapon. Hearing this, Su Chen nodded. The power of a divine weapon was very great, and he had seen it before. If Pang Hui had a top-grade divine weapon, he could indeed suppress Zhang Qingquan. It was reasonable for him to severely injure Zhang Qingquan with one blow. Chapter 1134. Su Chen did not want the Qinghe clan to be defeated, nor would he watch Zhang Qingquan be killed. He directly ordered the intelligent war chariot, Satoshi, kill them. The intelligent war chariot drove at full speed and sped toward the giant island. In its level 20 form, its speed was extremely fast, and it covered 1,000 kilometers in the blink of an eye. The sudden appearance of a white spaceship stunned the people of the Qinghe clan and the Red Demon clan. When Lin Yu walked out of the intelligent war chariot, the people of the 2 clans were extremely surprised. In the Twilight Domain, there were only 2 clans. Judging from Su Chen's appearance, he was obviously an outsider. "Boy, which domain are you from? What are you here for?" Pang Hui stared at Su Chen intently, and his voice was unusually cold. Since Su Chen was emitting the aura of a godly state expert, he did not attack Su Chen immediately for the sake of caution. "I'm from the human clan of the Zhenhuan domain. My purpose here is very simple. I want to cooperate." Under the gaze of the experts, Su Chen's face did not change as he said calmly, "Zhenhuan domain?" The people of the Qinghe clan and the Red Demon clan both revealed strange expressions. They had heard of the Zhenhuan domain before. It was a very low-level domain. Especially after the great battle 10,000 years ago, almost all the godly state experts had fallen. It was rumored that there were only 2 or 3 godly state experts among the tens of thousands of clans in the Zhenhuan domain. It could be said that every godly state expert was the guardian of the Zhenhuan domain and would not leave easily. Then, why did this human godly state expert dare to come to the Twilight domain? Was he not afraid of being killed? Pang Hui looked at Su Chen again and said with interest, "Boy, tell me what you want to cooperate with." "The person I want to cooperate with is not you." Su Chen smiled faintly, then looked at Zhang Qingquan and said seriously, "Clan leader Zhang, I want to join forces with your Qinghe clan to kill the Red Demon clan." What do you think? What? Kill the Red Demon Clan? As soon as these words came out, the surroundings suddenly fell silent. Everyone looked at Su Qin in a daze. Their expressions were very complicated. Judging from the aura emitted from Su Chen's body, he was only slightly stronger than God Realm 1 star. He definitely wasn't at God Realm 2 stars. With this bit of strength, he dared to claim that he could kill the Red Fiend race? How ridiculous was this? Zhang Qinkuan swallowed his saliva and smiled bitterly. My human friend, I would like to cooperate with you, but I'm afraid it's impossible to exterminate the Red Demon race. If Su Chen was a God Realm 3 stars existence, perhaps there would be a glimmer of hope. The key point was that Su Chen wasn't even at God Realm 2 stars. In front of Pang Hui, he was no different from an ant. What was the point of working together? However, Su Chen was here to help, so he couldn't say anything too unpleasant. Clan leader Zhang, you may not know my strength well enough. In fact, I am quite confident in dealing with a Divine Realm 3 stars. Su Chen rubbed his nose and said calmly. Zhang Qinkuan was dumbfounded. A God Realm 1 star had the confidence to kill a God Realm 3 stars? Was this young man's brain damaged? The people of the Red Devil clan laughed unscrupulously. Originally, he thought that Su Chen was just an arrogant person who had not seen the world. He didn't expect that he was a fool. A God Realm 1 star wanted to kill a God Realm 3 stars. This idea was simply insane to the extreme. Kid, you are very interesting, but you have also successfully angered me. For this, I will make you regret living in this world. Pang Hui stopped laughing, and his face was full of coldness. As soon as he finished speaking, he gave a look to a God Realm 2 star Red Demon clan member beside him. Chapter 1135. The latter understood tacitly. He raised a stone hammer the size of a millstone and rushed towards Su Chen. As a 2-star God Realm powerhouse, he was as fast as lightning and arrived in front of Su Chen in the blink of an eye. Brat, go to hell. The 2-star God Realm Red Demon smiled ferociously and smashed the stone hammer in his hand down. All of a sudden, a mournful howl rang out in the void. In the face of this powerful hammer, Su Chen's face was emotionless. Just as the hammer was about to hit him, he raised his hand to grab it. He used the golden scale arm and 100 times strength technique at the same time. What was he trying to do? Seeing this scene, there were exclamations all around. Whether it was the Qinghe clan or the Red Demon clan, they were all dumbfounded. They saw clearly that Su Chen was preparing to grab the stone hammer with his bare hands. But how dare Su Chen do this? One had to know how powerful a 2-star God Realm powerhouse was. In addition, the stone hammer itself was also a sacred weapon. This hammer had earth-shattering power. Not to mention that Su Chen's cultivation was only at the 1-star God Realm. Even Pang Hui, who was at the 3-star God Realm, did not dare to take it with his bare hands. Could it be that he was crazy and wanted to court death? This thought appeared in everyone's mind. The 2-star God Realm Red Demon clan member was also stunned for a moment, but he quickly recovered. It didn't matter if Su Chen was scared silly or crazy. As long as this hammer fell, it would definitely smash Su Chen into pieces. Die! The 2-star God Realm Red Demon clan member roared and used all his strength to smash the hammer on Su Chen's palm. There was a loud bang. The stone hammer the size of a millstone smashed heavily on Su Chen's palm, splashing out a ball of resplendent golden light. However, to everyone's astonishment, Li Qia's expression changed drastically. The expected situation of Su Chen being smashed into powder did not happen. Su Chen was like a towering mountain, standing in the void without moving an inch. Not only did the stone hammer not cause any ripples when it landed on his palm, it was also immobilized by his grip. Moreover, looking at Su Chen's expression, it seemed that he didn't use any strength at all. He looked abnormally relaxed. Oh my God! How did he do it? Just how strong was his body and strength? Witnessing this scene, everyone was stunned. He even wondered if he was dreaming. How can he be so strong? Pang Hui swallowed his saliva, and his expression became abnormally solemn. At first, he completely regarded Su Chen as an ant. Unexpectedly, the strength that Su Chen displayed was beyond imagination. Although he was only at the God Realm 1 star, relying on his valiant physique and unparalleled strength, it was enough to pose a threat to him. Compared to Pang Hui's solemn mood, Zhang Qingquan's eyes were sparkling. Su Chen's strength was so strong. If they joined forces, they might really have a chance of survival. On the other side, Su Chen took advantage of the 2-star God Realm Red Demon clan members' absent-mindedness to suddenly exert force and snatch the sacred weapon Stone Hammer, throwing it into the storage bag. A sacred weapon could be broken down and converted into energy points. The sacred weapon used by a God Realm expert must be of very high quality, and the energy points that could be broken down and converted would definitely not be little. Of course, he wouldn't miss this opportunity. The 2-star God Realm Red Demon clan member was shocked. Losing the sacred weapon, his combat power dropped drastically. Facing Su Chen, this unfathomable expert, he no longer had the heart to underestimate him. However, before he could react, he felt a majestic force surrounding him and binding him in the blink of an eye. Chapter 1136. Mind Power. Godly State Spirit Reader Master. Realizing that Su Chen was also a Godly State Spirit Reader Master, the Red Demon was so scared that his liver and guts were torn apart. He struggled with all his might. However, he was shocked to find that he could not break free in a short time. It was true that Su Chen's Spirit Reader Master cultivation was only at Godly State 1 star. However, after consuming the Essence Origin fruit several times, the strength of his mind power had already surpassed the level of Godly State 2 stars. That was why he could bind the other party until he could not move. At this moment, Su Chen held a pitch-black saber and slashed down quickly. A cold light flashed in midair, and the head of the Red Demon flew into the sky. Accompanying it were about 100,000 shards of various colors that shone with a luster. Although he had expected that killing the Red Demon might also drop shards. However, when he really saw it, Su Chen still could not hide his excitement. There were thousands of Red Demons present. If all of them were killed, the number of shards that would drop could almost exceed 1,000,000. Although this number was not enough for him to advance to Godly State 2 stars, it was enough to advance the illusionary Blazefeather Divine Dragon to the level of a divine beast. In this way, his strength would definitely rise along with it. Hiss! At the same time, with the death of the Red Demon 2 stars, there was a sound of cold air being sucked in from the surroundings. Everyone looked at Su Chen with deep shock in their eyes. They had never thought that Su Chen, who was only at Godly State 1 star, could easily kill a Godly State 2 stars expert. This made them feel incomparably incredulous. It's actually so easy to kill an enemy of a higher level. After witnessing Su Chen's unparalleled strength, Pang Hui's expression became even more solemn. His evaluation of Su Chen also increased a little. With the strength that Su Chen had displayed so far, he could indeed compete with him. So strong. Zhang Qingquan was extremely excited. The stronger Su Chen was, the greater the chances of their Qinghe clan surviving. Boy, I have to say that you are indeed very strong and qualified to fight with me. But if you want to defeat me, it's no different from wishful thinking. Pang Hui glared at Su Chen, his face gradually turning cold. It was one thing for Su Chen to be qualified to fight with him, but it was another thing for him to defeat him. In his opinion, Su Chen could totally be called the #1 powerhouse below Deity Realm 3 stars. However, there was still a gap between him and the 3-star God Realm. At least, he was slightly weaker than Zhang Qingquan. On the other hand, he could easily crush Zhang Qingquan. Comparing the two, it was not difficult to crush Su Chen. Is that so? Su Chen smiled contemptuously and said coolly, "Do you think that you can posture in front of me just because you're Deity Realm 3 star? You still have a long way to go. Is there a need to be so arrogant?" Zhang Qingquan couldn't help but click his tongue. Indeed, Su Chen was very strong. He was invincible among those of the same level, and it was easy for him to kill enemies of a higher level. But no matter how strong he was, he wouldn't be a match for a Deity Realm 3 stars, right? Was it really a good idea to anger Pang Hui like this? Was he fearless? Or is ignorance not guilty? Wildly arrogant. The group of Red Fiend clan members were agitated and started cursing one after another. Pang Hui had always been an invincible existence in their eyes. But Su Chen dared to humiliate him to his face. Simply had no idea of death and danger. Boy, I'm not afraid of you being stubborn. In a while, I'll let you know the outcome of offending me. Pang Hui's fury reached the peak. A monstrous killing intent rolled endlessly like the sea waves. His gaze when looking at Su Chen was bone-piercing iciness. Stop hooting. Bring it on. See how I'll take care of you. Su Chen was somewhat impatient. Pang Hui kept talking and did not make a move. He already did not plan on letting Pang Hui continue pretending. Chapter 1137. Then you can go to hell. Pang Hui could no longer hold back the anger in his heart. He roared and charged toward Su Chen. As he approached, he raised his divine artifact long blade and slashed down at Su Chen, vowing to cut Su Chen into pieces with one slash. Su Chen was fearless. He raised his hand and threw out the five-colored mountain. Suddenly, the five-colored mountain expanded to 20 feet in size. It was glowing with five-colored light and emitted a terrifying magic wave. Moreover, one could vaguely see the shadow of a giant ape pounding its chest and roaring at the sky. Although the primordial Five Extremes mountain had not reached the level of a divine weapon, after fusing with the weapon spirit, the power it could produce had already surpassed that of an ordinary divine weapon. Even if it did not reach the level of a top divine weapon, it was not far from it. There was a loud bang. The divine weapon saber slashed heavily on the five-colored mountain. Heaven and earth shook, and the void distorted. The five-colored mountain was in a stalemate for a while. Then, it trembled violently and was finally sent flying by the saber. "Ha, brat, do you think you can show off in front of me just because you have a spiritual mountain comparable to a divine weapon? I'd like to see what other tricks you have." Pang Hui laughed unscrupulously. He instinctively thought that Su Chen was so arrogant because he had a spiritual mountain. Now that the spiritual mountain was sent flying by the saber, Su Chen was reduced to a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. "You're too naive." A hint of mockery appeared on Su Chen's face. As soon as he finished speaking, his body quickly grew taller, and in the blink of an eye, he became 100 feet tall. His entire body was rippling with a layer of majestic pressure. His cultivation had reached the level of God Realm 2 stars. Transformation technique. God Realm 2 stars. Sensing the change in Su Chen's aura, the surrounding Qinghe clan and Red Fiend clan members roared in shock. Su Chen had strength that far surpassed his peers. Now that he had advanced to God Realm 2 stars, he might really be able to wrestle with Pang Hui. So this is his real trump card. Zhang Chenquan was extremely excited. At first, he also felt that Su Chen was boasting too much. Unexpectedly, Su Chen still had such a powerful trump card. After thinking about Su Chen's powerful fighting strength, he felt that Pang Hui might not be a match for Su Chen. The hope of survival rekindled in his heart. 2 stars of the divine realm. The smile on Pang Hui's face completely disappeared and was replaced by a deep seriousness. Whatever Zhang Chenquan could think of, he could too. Su Chen, who advanced to Deity Realm 2 stars, absolutely had the qualifications to go head-to-head with him. Su Chen narrowed his eyes as he scanned Pang Hui. Suddenly he punched out from afar. This punch seemed ordinary, but in fact it wasn't. He had already unleashed the concept-level magical power, Drunken Life. Being targeted by this strange attack, Pang Hui felt his soul tremble. By the time he realized that something was wrong, Su Chen had already arrived in front of him like a ghost. Petty tricks. Pang Hui was indeed an expert of Deity Realm 3 stars. His willpower was quite strong. He gritted his teeth and quickly recovered. Then he raised his divine weapon long saber. Just as he was about to slash down, his vision suddenly blurred. He saw Su Chen turn into 2 into 4. In the blink of an eye, 10 shadows that were exactly the same as Su Chen appeared. As an avatar? Pang Hui was slightly stunned. The next moment, his expression changed drastically, because he could clearly feel that the cultivation bases of the 10 shadows had all reached deity realm 2 stars. Moreover, these 10 shadows and Su Chen's original body joined forces to surround him and immediately launched an attack. Moreover, what was even more unbelievable was that 5 of the phantoms were casting spells of various elements, while the other 5 were all casting spiritual power. Su Chen's original body held a pitch-black long sword and slashed down from the sky. Chapter 1138. Witnessing this scene, the onlookers from the 2 clans were all dumbfounded. Even Zhang Chenkuan, who was at God State 3 stars, had his mouth wide open. His eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. It was already shocking that Su Chen could create 10 phantoms with the same strength. What was even more terrifying was that he was a full-time cultivator and had reached the God State. Moreover, he was an all-element Dharma psychic. Unbelievable. Unimaginable. Even though he had lived for tens of thousands of years, he had never seen a cultivator with such terrifying talent. Not to mention seeing it, he had never heard of it. Just when everyone was in a daze, Su Chen launched a brazen attack. The mind power that was like a vast ocean first bound Pang Hui, and then 5 spells blasted on Pang Hui's body one after another. Boom, boom, in a series of earth-shattering explosions, Pang Hui's figure was completely drowned out. Su Chen's main body held the chaos sky-splitting sword in his hand and slashed out a huge pitch-black vortex in the air. It emitted an extremely terrifying space-tearing force and slowly fell from above Pang Hui's head. Sizzle, Pang Hui let out a heart-wrenching howl amidst a series of tearing sounds. Ah! The howl shook the sky as if it contained some kind of power, causing those who heard it to tremble involuntarily. Because Su Chen's strength was too strong, he was not affected. However, after glancing at Pang Hui, his brows furrowed slightly. After suffering a round of violent attacks, Pang Hui's clothes were ragged and his hair was disheveled. He looked very miserable. However, his aura was still powerful. This meant that Pang Hui did not suffer any substantial injuries and still had the strength to fight. Our clan leader is mighty. Our clan leader is domineering. Sensing that Pang Hui's aura was still very strong, the group of red demons roared excitedly. On the other hand, the Qinghe clan members all looked extremely solemn. Originally, they thought that Su Chen's unparalleled attack could at least seriously injure Pang Hui even if it could not kill him. They did not expect Pang Hui's strength to be far beyond their imagination. He was actually able to withstand it with just his physical body. If even such a divine ability couldn't kill Pang Hui, would Su Chen still have a chance? At this moment, the members of the Qinghe clan no longer thought highly of Su Chen. They believed that Su Chen was at his wit's end and would soon be killed by Pang Hui. Zhang Chenkuan let out a long sigh, his face filled with loneliness. Similarly, he did not think that Su Chen would have a chance. With Su Chen's defeat, their Qinghe clan would be completely eradicated. As expected of a Divine Realm 3 stars expert, Su Chen sighed with emotion. For the first time, a trace of seriousness appeared on his face. Pang Hui was able to withstand the blow of the fighting skill of 10,000 lights 10 shadows. His physical strength was as strong as his. He could indeed be regarded as a strong opponent. Brat, this is your strongest trump card, right? You want to kill me with this little bit of strength? Pang Hui laughed wildly and wantonly. After blocking Su Chen's fatal blow, his confidence was bursting. He no longer took Su Chen seriously. Do you think that's all I have? Su Chen pursed his lips and smiled faintly. Admittedly, the fighting skill of 10,000 lights 10 shadows was a powerful trump card, but it was not his most powerful one. The astral storm and the unification of 10,000 swords were his real trump cards. You still have a trump card? Pang Hui was shocked. Su Chen had shown enough means, and each of them was more powerful than the last. In particular, the blow just now almost took his life. If he still had a trump card, how powerful would it be? Would he be able to withstand it? Chapter 1139. Does Su Qin have a trump card? Zhang Qinkuan suddenly looked forward to it. The expressions of the other members of the Qinghe clan also changed. They all looked at Su Qin with hope in their eyes. If it were someone else who said that they still had a trump card, they would even scoff. However, Su Qin was different. His strength was very explosive. From the moment he appeared until now, the shock he brought to them could not be any greater. If he really had a trump card, he might be able to turn the situation around in one fell swoop. Under everyone's gaze, Su Qin took a deep breath, raised his hand and punched out. This punch was the super trump card, Astral Tempest. Since he succeeded in cultivating it, this was the first time he used it in actual combat. As this punch was thrown out, the void shook, and the sky and earth changed color. Suddenly, countless bright stars appeared in the void. They were like rivers of stars, standing between the heavens and the earth. In the next moment, hundreds of galaxies gathered together, forming an astral storm that was 1,000 feet in size, covering the sky and splitting the sun. The power it emitted could destroy heaven and earth. It gave people the feeling that the end of the world was coming. The moment the astral storm was formed, the surroundings fell into a suffocating silence. Everyone floated in the void in a daze, and their eyes were filled with deep shock and horror. Such a terrifying killing move, not to mention seeing it, he had never even heard of it. What kind of divine ability was this? At this moment, everyone's breathing stopped. Su Qin is too strong. Zhang Qinkuan's teeth were chattering. Even a super powerhouse of the God Realm 3 stars still felt a sense of oppression when facing a great divine ability like the Astral Storm. He even thought that if he was the target of the Astral Storm, he would be torn to pieces in a single blow. How could he have such a terrifying killing move? Pang Hui's heart was filled with extreme fear. A feeling of being destroyed arose in his heart. He knew very well that in the face of such a killing move, no matter how strong his physical body was, he would definitely not be able to withstand it. As soon as this thought came to his mind, he turned around and fled without another word. Fleeing without a fight was simply a disgrace to a God Realm 3 stars powerhouse. However, in order to survive, he could not care so much. The face. What dignity? Compared to his life, what was it worth? You think you can escape? Su Qin smiled contemptuously and punched down. The astral river tempest that blotted out the sky disappeared with a whoosh. When it reappeared, it had completely enveloped Pang Hui. Rumble. Soon after, a series of rumbling sounds shook the world. A few breaths later, the astral river storm wreaked havoc and gradually dissipated. Dense spatial cracks appeared all around them, and a large amount of spatial turbulence surged out. At the center of the dissipating storm stood a desolate figure. It was Pang Hui. His body was badly mutilated, and his bones were clearly visible. His aura was extremely weak. Although he wasn't dead yet, he was only hanging on by a breath, barely hanging on. 3 stars of the divine realm is just SOSO. Su Qin narrowed his eyes and smiled contemptuously. You, Pang Hui opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. His body shook violently and his aura weakened rapidly. He was about to die. I'll send you on your way. Seeing this, Su Qin raised his hand and performed the Pegasus Meteor Punch. 100 golden fist shadows bombarded Pang Hui's body like meteors, blasting him until not even a speck of dust was left. With the death of Pang Hui, hundreds of thousands of fragments emerged, emitting a dazzling luster. Chapter 1140. Pang Hui has really been killed. Zhang Qinkuan's face was blank. From the beginning to the end, he never thought that Pang Hui, who had dominated the Twilight Realm for tens of thousands of years, would actually be killed by Su Qin. Even though he saw it with his own eyes, he still felt dazed. The other Qinghe clansmen were stunned for a moment before they became abnormally excited. With Pang Hui's death, the Red Demon clansmen became a pile of loose sand. No matter how many of them there were, they would not be able to do anything. Moreover, there was still Su Qin, this super powerhouse, around. The Red Fiend clan members were even more vulnerable. How could the patriarch be dead? The Red Demon clansmen were still unwilling to believe that Pang Hui had been killed. But the truth was right in front of them. Even if they were unwilling to believe it, they had to accept it. When they realized that Pang Hui was really dead, a huge wave of panic spread in their hearts. Even Pang Hui, who was a God Realm 3-star, was killed. Su Chen's powerful strength was undoubtedly revealed. Then would Su Chen let them go? The answer was obvious. When Su Chen first arrived, he had threatened to eradicate them. Without Pang Hui's obstruction, Su Chen would attack them even more unscrupulously. Thinking of this, those God Realm Red Demons looked at each other and tacitly turned around and fled, completely ignoring the life and death of the Sage Red Demons. The remaining Sage Red Demons were dumbfounded, but they quickly reacted. All the God Realm powerhouses had run away. Wouldn't they be waiting for death if they stayed? Whoosh! Instantly, all the Red Demons fled in all directions. Of course, Su Chen would not let them escape. The Red Demons present were all Sage stage and above. Every time one of them was killed, a large number of fragments would drop. If all of them were killed, at least 1 million fragments would drop. Senior, I'll leave those Sage Red Demons to you. Don't leave a single one alive. Su Chen shouted at the 5-colored mountain, then quickly chased after those God Realm Red Demons. No problem. The 5-colored mountain transformed into a 5-colored giant ape and caught up with the Sage Red Demons in an instant. It originally had a God Realm 1-star cultivation base. After fusing with the primordial 5 Extremes mountain, its strength soared greatly. Its true combat strength was comparable to a God Realm 2-star. Against a group of Sage-level existences, it was a one-sided massacre. For a moment, the entire void was filled with screams. On the other side, Su Chen exerted the speed enhancement function of the Rapid War Boots to the extreme. After catching up with the Red Demons in the Divine Realm, he killed them one by one. Half an hour later, Su Chen flew back from afar. Zhang Qingquan led a group of Qinghe clan members and stood respectfully at the side, waiting for Su Chen's arrival. Su Chen's cultivation was not as high as his. However, his combat prowess far exceeded his. When dealing with a powerhouse of Su Chen's level, he naturally had to show the proper attitude. After Su Chen returned, he collected all the fragments. In the end, the number reached a whopping 1,020,000. The harvest was exceptionally bountiful. Then he arrived in front of Zhang Qingquan and the others. Human friend, on behalf of the Qinghe clan, I thank you for saving our lives. Zhang Qingquan said gratefully. Today, if Su Chen hadn't appeared here, he would have died. The Qinghe clan would have been completely eradicated. Therefore, his gratitude to Su Chen came from the bottom of his heart. My name is Su Chen. It's just a small matter. You're welcome. Su Chen chuckled and said, Clan leader Zhang, I still have something I need your help with. What is it? Just tell me. Zhang Qingquan immediately replied. Su Chen's kindness to the Qinghe clan was as deep as the ocean. No matter what it was, he would find a way to complete it. Chapter 1141. Clan leader Zhang, have you heard of Luan Qingjing? Su Chen asked directly. The main purpose of this trip was Luan Qingjing. Since the Red Demon race had been dealt with, it was time to talk about business. Luan Qingjing, Zhang Qingquan pondered for a moment, then said, Luan Qingjing is a high-quality or with a wide range of uses, but only our Qinghe race has it. Hearing this, Su Chen's eyes lit up and he suppressed his excitement and said, Clan leader Zhang, Luan Qingjing is very important to me, can you exchange some for me? If he were to ask for it directly, it would not be easy to say it out loud. It would be better to use the exchange method. Of course, he believed that Zhang Qingquan would not accept his things. Su Chen, you are too polite. You saved our lives, what is a mere Luan Qingjing? Zhang Qingquan said solemnly, then said, although Luan Qingjing is a unique product of our race, there are not many of them. How many do you need? About 100. Su Chen thought for a moment and replied. Previously, he had communicated with the intelligent war chariot, and it was upgraded to the level 24 form. 100 Luan Qingjing was enough. 100? Zhang Qingquan said in a low voice, then promised, "Give me 3 days, I will gather enough." "Thank you, clan leader Zhang." Su Chen was overjoyed and thanked him. With Luan Qingjing, he could immediately return to the Zhenhuan domain and deal with the joint attack of the vicious barbarian domain and the vast thousand domains. And the intelligent war chariot, which had been upgraded to the level 24 form, could completely resist a divine realm 3 stars. At that time, he could deal with Gubatian with peace of mind. Later, Zhang Qingquan arranged for his people to look for Luan Qingjing. After everything was arranged, he returned to Su Chen and asked, "Su Chen, did something happen in the Zhenhuan domain?" Although there was a domain passage between the Zhenhuan domain and the Twilight domain, they had not been in contact for thousands of years. Su Chen suddenly came here. It should not be just for Luan Qingjing, right? Clan leader Zhang's guess is right. Su Chen chuckled and explained the matter of Gubatian invading the Zhenhuan boundary. Hearing this, Zhang Qingquan's expression became extremely solemn. Compared to Wu Tsang and the Honorable God Source, he knew more about Gubatian. Although Gubatian was also at the immortal state level 3, he was no match for him at all. It was no exaggeration to say that even 2 Pang Hues together would not be a match for Gubatian. Kang Zonghao of the 3 stars of the divine realm from the vast thousand domains was not to be underestimated. Although he couldn't compare to Gubatian, he was definitely stronger than Pang Hui. "Su Chen, I advise you to leave the Zhenhuan domain." Zhang Qingquan sighed. If Gubatian and Kang Zonghao joined forces, they would be able to destroy the world. Even if Su Chen's talent was outstanding and his strength was also abnormally powerful, he was still only at Deity Realm 1 star. Based on the strength he had displayed so far, he was only on par with Kang Zonghao. There was no way he would be a match for Gubatian. If he continued to stay in the Zhenhuan region, he would only die. Clan leader Zhang, don't worry. If I face Gubatian alone, I have 100% confidence that I can kill him. Su Chen said confidently. He was not bragging about this. With 2 trump cards and the second primordial spirit, killing Gubatian would be a piece of cake. Zhang Qingquan's expression froze. After he recovered, he reminded, "Su Chen, Gubatian is not someone that Pang Hui can compare to. Even 2 Pang Hues would not be a match for Gubatian." He had some suspicions that Su Chen's confidence was inflated because he killed Pang Hui, and that was why he said such big words. Chapter 1142. I know a little about Gubatian's background. Although he is very strong, I have more strength than what I have now. Su Chen said meaningfully and then added, "Of course, the premise is that someone must help me stop Kang Zonghao." "You still have a trump card?" Zhang Qingquan was shocked. Su Chen had shown enough means. If he still had a trump card, he might really be able to compete with Gubatian. "Su Chen, I can help you stop Kang Zonghao," Zhang Qingquan gritted his teeth and said. With his strength, he was no match for Kang Zonghao at all. But he was confident that he could stop him for a while. The reason why he did this, in addition to returning Su Chen's favor, was because he had his own plans. Once the Zhenhuan domain fell, Gubatian and Kang Zonghao's next target would naturally be the Twilight domain. He understood that helping Su Chen was equivalent to helping himself. "Patriarch Zhang, it's best that you can help." Su Chen was overjoyed. Although the intelligent war chariot had been upgraded to level 24 and could compete with Kang Zonghao, it was not very safe. With Zhang Qingquan's help, he was relieved. In addition, don't worry, Patriarch Zhang, I still have a war chariot that is about to be upgraded to God Realm 3 stars. When the time comes, there should be no problem for you to join forces to deal with Kang Zonghao. In order to reassure Zhang Qingquan, Su Chen pointed out that the intelligent war chariot was about to be upgraded. "You still have a God Realm 3 stars war chariot?" Zhang Qingquan was surprised. Generally speaking, the highest grade of a war chariot could reach level 10, which was quite impressive. A war chariot that could reach the saint level was almost rare. A war chariot that had reached the God Realm was unheard of. If what Lin Yu said was true, then there would be no danger for him to join forces with a God Realm 3 stars war chariot to deal with Kang Zonghao. Su Chen nodded and explained with a smile. To upgrade my war chariot to God Realm 3 stars, I need to consume 100 Luanqing crystals. Otherwise, it can't reach this level. I see. Zhang Chengkuan suddenly understood. At this moment, he finally understood why Su Chen had come here. He was looking for Luan Qingjing to help the war chariot level up so that he could fight against Kong Zonghao. Su Chen, wait here. I'll go look for Luan Qingjing, Zhang Chengkuan said. Luan Qingjing was of great importance. In order to avoid any mishaps, he planned to search for her personally. Then I'll have to trouble Patriarch Zhang. Su Chen said gratefully. After Zhang Chengkuan left, he returned to the intelligent war chariot. Sitting in the driver's seat, Su Chen exchanged all the fragments he had collected before for energy points. Then, he bought all kinds of constitution potions and gave them to the illusionary blazing feather divine dragon, which was enough to promote it to 1 star of the divine realm. With the strength of the illusionary blaze feather divine dragon and the 5-colored hill, it was no match for a God Realm 3 stars. But it was more than enough to deal with some Deity Realm 2 stars. This way, he would be able to deal with Gu Batian at ease. After that, he opened the chaos space and chatted with the others, waiting for Zhang Chengkuan's arrival. 3 days later, Zhang Chengkuan arrived as promised. A group of God Realm experts of the Qinghe clan came with him. There were 11 of them. This time, Zhang Chengkuan had made up his mind to go to the fantasy zone with Su Chen. He brought all the experts of the clan, ready to cut off all means of retreat. Chapter 1143. Su Chen did not pay much attention to the rest of the Qinghe clan. After all, some immortal state 1 or 2 stars could not change the situation. He was most concerned about Luan Qingjing. Only when Luan Qingjing gathered enough people would they have a chance of winning the battle with Gu Batian. Clan leader Zhang, where's Luan Qingjing? Su Chen asked anxiously. Zhang Chengkuan took out a storage bag and handed it to Su Chen. He smiled and said, "Don't worry, they're all here. There's a total of 108 stones." In the past 3 days, he had almost turned the entire Twilight region upside down with his clan members. Finally, they gathered enough and did not disappoint him. Su Chen was overjoyed and opened the storage bag to check. Luan Qingjing looked almost the same as an energy stone in terms of appearance. However, the color was slightly different. The energy stone was sparkling and translucent, while the Luan Qingjing was green and gloomy. In addition, the energy contained in the two was worlds apart. For example, if the energy stone was a drop of water, the Luan Qingjing was an ocean. As he had never seen the Luan Qingjing before, Su Chen contacted the intelligent war chariot and asked it to help identify it. In the end, the answer was that the Luan Qingjing was indeed in the storage bag. Su Chen was completely relieved and then invited Zhang Chengkuan and the others to get in the car. The purpose of this trip was more perfect than he had expected. It was time to return to the Zhenhuan domain. After everyone got in the car, Su Chen ordered, "Satoshi, return to the Zhenhuan domain." The intelligent war chariot drove at full speed and flew straight toward the domain passage in the meteorite group. On the way, Su Chen placed all the Luan Qingjing in the groove. However, it would still take some time for the intelligent war chariot to be upgraded to the level 24 form. 3 days later, Lin Yu returned to the Star Source Island in the Zhenhuan domain. During this period, the intelligent war chariot was successfully upgraded to the level 24 form. After the upgrade, the most direct change was that there was an additional form. They could transform into puppets, reaching a height of 300 meters. They looked like towering mountains. Their bodies flowed with a resplendent silver luster. Their defensive power was comparable to a top-grade sacred artifact. In addition, the power was also very terrifying. The power of one blow was almost the same as the power of Su Chen's heaven-reaching hundredfold vigorous technique. Although the intelligent war chariot didn't have many attacking methods, it was still very powerful. However, in terms of defense and strength alone, the power that he could unleash was more powerful than Pang Hui. When Zhang Chengkuan and the others saw that the intelligent war chariot had transformed into a puppet, their jaws almost dropped. Disregarding everything else, just his 300-meter tall body alone gave people a strong sense of awe. In addition to the successful advancement of the intelligent chariot, the illusory blaze-feather divine dragon had also successfully advanced to the level of 1 star of the divine realm. Compared to the intelligent war chariot's single attack method, it also had a special ability, raging flames burning the sky. Raging flames incinerate the heavens had a very strong law of fire. It was many times stronger than flaming phoenixes. Once enveloped by it, 1 star of the divine realm would instantly turn into ashes. Even if a divine realm 2-star came into contact with it, they would be severely burned. It could definitely be considered a powerful trump card. Su-Chen, you're finally back. When he saw Su-Chen, Wu-Tsang was extremely excited. The second primordial spirit quietly returned to Su-Chen's body. Senior, Gubatian didn't send any more beasts over, right? Su-Chen asked with a smile. No. Maybe he's afraid of you, so he hasn't made a move. Wu-Tsang replied. When he saw Zhang Qingquan and the other members of the Qinghe clan walking down from the intelligent war chariot, his expression froze. Chapter 1144. Senior, this is clan leader Zhang of the Qinghe clan in the Twilight Domain. The others are all God-state powerhouses of the Qinghe clan. They are all here to help us. Su-Chen introduced them and pointed out the purpose of Zhang Qingquan and the other Qinghe clan members coming here. Then he introduced Wu-Tsang to Zhang Qingquan. Hiss! Wu-Tsang took a deep breath, his face full of shock. He never thought that the Qinghe clan members who came here were all God-state powerhouses, including Zhang Qingquan, who was a God-state 3-star. Moreover, to his surprise, these God-state powerhouses were all here to help. In this way, they really had the strength to fight with Gubatian. Clan leader Zhang, thank you so much for coming to help, Wu-Tsang said gratefully. Fighting with Gubatian was extremely dangerous, and there was a possibility of dying. Zhang Qingquan and the others could still come here without hesitation despite knowing this, which made him very touched. Brother Wu, you're too polite. Zhang Qingquan smiled and continued, Su-Chen saved our clan's life, so it's only right that we come here to help. Saved his life? Wu-Tsang was a little confused. Zhang Qingquan told him about Su-Chen killing Pang Hui and a group of red demon powerhouses in the Twilight Domain. Su-Chen is so powerful? Wu-Tsang was shocked. At first, when Su-Chen said that he had a way to deal with Gubatian, he thought it was unlikely. After learning that Su-Chen killed Pang Hui, he was full of confidence in Su-Chen. After all, Su-Chen did not bring his second primordial spirit with him to the Twilight Domain this time, causing his strength to be greatly reduced. But even under such circumstances, he could still kill a God-state 3-star powerhouse, which showed how powerful he was. Once he joined forces with his second primordial spirit, his strength would definitely soar greatly, and it would not be an extravagant hope to deal with Gubatian. Senior, how long until the domain passage is completely stabilized? After getting to know each other, Su-Chen changed the topic and asked about serious matters. When the domain passage was stabilized, which was also when Gubatian came, he had to pay attention to it. About 20 days. Wu-Tsang thought for a moment. Then, he said with a dignified expression, with Gubatian's arrival, a great battle was unavoidable. Whether or not the Zhenhuan domain could continue to exist would depend on the outcome of this battle. Wu-Tsang was looking forward to this battle, but he was more worried. 20 days. Su-Chen whispered and said to Zhang Qingquan, Patriarch Zhang, Gubatian can't come for the time being. Let's take this time to rest and conserve our energy. Alright. Zhang Qingquan nodded. The key to victory in the upcoming battle was whether Su-Chen could defeat or kill Gubatian. Su-Chen had become their leader. Whatever arrangements Su-Chen made, they just had to follow Su-Chen's instructions. Behind him, Su-Chen made the intelligent war chariot grow to a size of several thousand meters. He led the group into the chariot, then took out all kinds of fruits, wine, and drinks to entertain Zhang Qingquan and the others. After eating and drinking to his heart's content, he opened the chaos space and called out Chao Ran and the others to play poker together. Wu-Tsang and Zhang Qingquan were speechless. They secretly thought that Su Chen was really carefree. They were about to have a life-and-death battle, but he still had the leisure to play poker. However, this novel way of entertainment was really attractive. Wu Tsang and Zhang Chenkuan watched for a while and felt a little itchy. When they understood the rules, they also rolled up their sleeves and played the landlord game. So what if he was a God State expert? Could a God State expert not be entertained? Chapter 1145. In the blink of an eye, 20 days had passed. On this day, Su Chen and the others arrived near the boundary passage. Now that the boundary passage had been completely stabilized, Gu Bat Ian might bring people to kill their way into the Zhenhuan domain at any time, so they had to be prepared in advance. As expected, on the second day, a powerful energy fluctuation was emitted from the boundary passage. There was no doubt that there were experts who had entered. They're here. Wu Tsang focused his mind. Zhang Chenkuan and the others from the Qinghe clan immediately became nervous. Gu Batyan was known as the #1 expert in the Four Realms, and his strength was unparalleled. If Su Chen could not withstand it, they would all die here today. Su Chen's expression was very calm, and there was a hint of anticipation in his eyes. He had been waiting for this battle for a long time, and he had long wanted to exchange blows with Gu Batyan. Suddenly, the first figure appeared in the boundary passage. It was a ferocious beast in human form, and judging from the aura, it was a God Realm 2 stars expert. When he saw Su Chen and the other experts, he subconsciously took a step back. However, he quickly reacted, and a hint of disdain appeared on his face. Gu Batyan was about to arrive, and by then, these people in front of him would all be ants, so what was there to be afraid of? Su Chen, do you want to kill this guy first? Zhang Chenkuan suggested. A God Realm 2 stars was considered a very strong opponent, and killing him could reduce the pressure on their side. No need, he's just a piece of trash. Su Chen did not care at all. To him, killing a God Realm 2 stars was just a matter of moving his fingers. Even if he killed him, it would not change the situation of the battle. And as long as he killed Gu Batyan, this kind of trash would naturally submit without making a move. Since Su Chen had spoken, Zhang Chenkuan did not say anything more and waited quietly. As time passed, there were more God Realm ferocious beasts entering through the boundary passage, and the number had already reached more than 20. However, Gu Batyan did not appear. Suddenly, a violent aura shot in from the domain passageway. With this kind of aura, it was definitely a God Realm 3 stars expert. Was it Gu Batyan or Kang Zonghao? Zhang Chenkuan and the others turned to look at the domain passageway. The next moment, a silver-haired old man in a golden robe with a dignified aura flashed out of the interdomain passage. It's Kang Zonghao. Zhang Chenkuan reminded in a low voice. He's just a small fry. Su Chen curled his lips in disdain. His main target was Gu Batyan. Although Kang Zonghao was also a top-notch expert, he was still not worthy of his attention. Zhang Chenkuan, why is your Qinghe clan here? When he saw Zhang Chenkuan clearly, Kang Zonghao was surprised. Of course I'm waiting for you here. Zhang Chenkuan smiled meaningfully. Waiting for me? Kang Zonghao's expression froze and then his face sunk. He said with a fake smile, so you're here to stand up for Zhenhuan domain. Previously, he had received news that a super expert had appeared in the Zhenhuan domain and had killed many God State experts in the vicious barbarian domain. At first, he was still a little skeptical. This was because he knew the situation in the Zhenhuan domain quite well, and there would definitely not be such a powerful person. When he saw Zhang Chenkuan, he was relieved. Zhang Chenkuan was also a God Realm 3 stars expert. Although he was at the bottom of the God Realm 3 stars level, it was still relatively easy for him to kill some God Realm 1 stars ferocious beasts. Zhang Chenkuan smiled faintly. I'm here to help. The real main force was Su Chen, and he could not steal the limelight. Chapter 1146. Help. Kang Zonghao was slightly stunned. To put it nicely, it was to help. To put it bluntly, it was to be an assistant. However, who was qualified to be an assistant for an expert like Zhang Qingquan. With doubts, he squinted at Su Chen and Wu Cong. The rest of the Qinghe clan were all Zhang Qingquan's subordinates. They were definitely not stronger than Zhang Qingquan. Only Su Chen and Wu Cong were left. However, Su Chen and Wu Cong were only at God State 1 star. Obviously, they did not have such qualifications. Then why would Zhang Qingquan say that? Was he deliberately mystifying things? Kang Zonghao looked at Zhang Qingquan again and smiled gloomily. Zhang Qingquan, since you said that you are here to help, who is the strongest person here? Zhang Qingquan did not answer. Instead, he turned to look at Su Chen. The meaning was self-evident. The strongest person was Su Chen. Him. Kang Zonghao frowned slightly. Su Chen looked very young. To be able to advance to God State 1 star at this age, he could indeed be said to be a peerless genius. However, no matter how monstrous he was, his cultivation was only at God State 1 star. How could he be stronger than Zhang Qingquan? Boy, are you the strongest person here? Kang Zonghao glanced at Su Chen and questioned coldly. Su Chen pursed his lips and did not comment. Moreover, there was a trace of disdain in his expression. Seeing this, Kang Zonghao's face changed ferociously. A murderous aura that condensed into a substance lingered around his body. A mere God State 1 star ant dared to look down on him. It was simply outrageous. Boy, since you are the strongest person here, do you dare to exchange a few blows with me? Kang Zonghao said loudly. He seriously doubted Su Chen's strength. Whether he was more powerful than Zhang Qingquan or not, he would know once they exchanged blows. Not interested. Su Chen shook his head and said indifferently, because you are not qualified to exchange blows with me. Not qualified? Kang Zonghao was stunned. Ever since he ascended to the 3rd star of the God Realm, he had become the 2nd strongest expert in the 4 great realms. Even Gu Batian had to give him some face. Who does Su Chen think he is? He actually dared to humiliate him in front of so many people. Death was not enough to be regretted. At this moment, Kang Zonghao's chest was burning with rage. A murderous aura that had condensed to the point of materialization spread out without reservation. His eyes were filled with bone-chilling coldness. Brat, don't talk nonsense. Do you know how powerful Divine Kong is? How can a piece of trash like you compare to him? The group of deity realm ferocious beasts were also infuriated by Su Chen's arrogance and clamored at Su Chen one after another. I'll let you jump around for a while. After I kill Gu Batian, all of you will die. Su Chen said calmly. Kill Gu Batian? A weakling at the 1 star of the divine realm actually dared to threaten to kill the number 1 expert of the 4 great realms? This was too much of a braggart. All the deity realm ferocious beasts were completely enraged. Each of them looked ferocious as they rubbed their palms together and looked like they were going to tear Su Chen into pieces. Kang Zonghao sneered and looked straight at Su Chen. He said in a cold voice, Brat, I don't care if you're boasting or if you're mentally ill. I'll kill you today. As soon as he finished speaking, he charged towards Su Chen like a ferocious beast with an overwhelming ferocious aura. You're overestimating yourself. Su Chen was not afraid. He activated the golden scale arm and 100 times strength technique, took a step forward, and threw a punch at Kang Zonghao who was flying towards him. The punch was as fast as lightning and powerful. Everywhere it passed, the void showed signs of shattering. Chapter 1147. You're asking for it? Kang Zonghao smirked when he saw that Su Chen had chosen to fight him head-on. He clenched his fist and threw a punch in the air. He was 2 levels higher than Su Chen. His strength and defense were superior to Su Chen's. He could definitely turn Su Chen into ashes after that punch. Wu Cong and the rest of the God State beasts widened their eyes and looked at Su Chen and Kang Zonghao. As for who was stronger and who was weaker, this punch would reveal the result. An earth-shattering boom resounded. Su Chen's and Kang Zonghao's fists collided without any fancy moves. The sky fell and the earth cracked. A powerful wind storm swept out in all directions, blowing Wu Song and the others and the gods state ferocious beasts all over the place. In the next moment, Kong Zonghao shot backward like a meteor and flew thousands of meters away in the blink of an eye. How is that possible? Divine Master Kong was defeated by a punch. The god state beasts were terrified when they saw that. They never thought that the second strongest person in the four realms would be at a disadvantage in a head-on fight with Su Qin. How is your strength so great? Kong Zonghao flew back from afar and stared at Su Qin with his eyes wide open. The disdain in his eyes had long disappeared and was replaced by a deep seriousness. He felt like he was hit by a giant mountain. His strength was as small as an ant in front of Su Qin. Su Qin's strength was terrifying beyond his imagination. He never thought that there would be someone with such divine power in the world. Do I need to report to you about my strength? Tell me now, do you admit defeat? Su Qin smiled contemptuously as if he did not take Kong Zonghao seriously. Kong Zonghao laughed instead of being angry and said coldly, "Kid, do you think you can be so arrogant just because you have divine power? If I want to kill you, it's a piece of cake." In a battle between powerhouses, strength was not the only thing that mattered. It was more about battle techniques, weapons, and supernatural powers. So what if Su Qin crushed him in terms of strength? He was confident that he could kill Su Qin if he used all his strength. Then I'll have to see just how much you're worth. Bring it on. Su Qin provoked. He originally planned to kill Gu Batian before dealing with Kong Zonghao. Since Kong Zonghao wanted to die, he might as well fulfill his wish. Then, he would have nothing to worry about and could focus on dealing with Gu Batian. Arrogant. Kong Zonghao flew into a rage out of humiliation, the veins on his old face bulging. He had been in the void for thousands of years and no one had ever looked down on him. At this moment, his killing intent rose and he swore to completely destroy Su Qin. Clang. Kong Zonghao for Lin Lin Yu's for a moment's sake suddenly, a murderous intent locked for Su Qin, s for alls for a while. Possessing this ability, it was clear that this long saber absolutely belonged to the ranks of top-tier divine artifacts. Su Qin, the long saber in his hand, is called Silver Moon Space Shattering Blade. It's a spatial divine artifact. You must be careful. Zhang Chenkuan reminded with a solemn expression. Su Qin nodded his head slightly, but there was no fear on his face. All of a sudden, the sound of bones cracking could be heard from his body. In the blink of an eye, his body had risen to a height of 10 feet. At the same time, a violent pressure spread out. His cultivation also reached the level of Deity Realm 2-star. Since he was going to fight for real, Deity Realm 1-star cultivation was not quite enough. Transformation Art. Deity Realm 2-star. Kong Zonghao was taken aback. If Su Qin was only Deity Realm 1-star, he still had the confidence to win. But reaching Deity Realm 2-star, his strength rose comprehensively. He was no longer as confident as before. Chapter 1148. The other immortal state ferocious beasts were also horrified. Su Qin was already powerful enough when he was at immortal state 1-star. How powerful would he be when he advanced to immortal state 2 stars? Would Kong Zonghao still be a match for him? Kong Zonghao, come here and die. Su Qin glanced at Kong Zonghao and said loudly. Frick. Kong Zonghao ground his teeth and flames of anger shot out of his eyes. Just as he was about to attack, a terrifying pressure suddenly came from the boundary passage. It was slightly stronger than Kong Zonghao's. Gu Batian is here. Zhang Chenkuan and the others' expressions froze. There was no doubt that it was Gu Batian who had such a violent pressure. A person's reputation was like a tree's shadow. Gu Batian was known as the strongest person in the 4 great realms. His strength was unparalleled. Before he even showed up, Zhang Chenkuan and the others felt extremely pressured. He's finally here. Su Qin snorted softly, his gaze drifting towards the domain passage. There was a loud boom. A figure quickly rushed out of the boundary passage. At first, it was no different from an ordinary person's figure. However, it soon began to change dramatically and reached a height of 1,000 feet in the blink of an eye. It was like a peerless demon god with a layer of condensed murderous aura rippling from its body. What a terrifying aura! Wu Tsang and the others' expressions changed drastically and they involuntarily retreated. The moment Gubat Ian and Tian Pu appeared, Wu Tsang and the others were intimidated. From this, it could be seen how terrifying their strength was. Patriarch. The group of immortal state ferocious beasts respectfully called out to Gubat Ian. Brother Gu, you're finally here. Kong Zonghao sighed softly. Su Chen still gave him a lot of pressure. Fortunately, Gubat Ian had arrived in time. Su Chen was handed over to Gubat Ian to deal with. He did not have to take the risk. Gubat Ian nodded slightly and then glanced at Su Chen and the others. When he saw that Zhang Qingkuan and the other Qinghe clan members were also here, a cold light suddenly flashed in his eyes and he said coldly, Zhang Qingkuan, are you here to die? After occupying the Zhenhuan domain, his next target was the Twilight domain. Originally, it would have been a little troublesome. Unexpectedly, Zhang Qingkuan appeared here. Now, everything could be settled in one go. Zhang Qingkuan gritted his teeth and remained silent. When he faced Kong Zonghao, he was still able to confront him. However, he did not have the slightest bit of courage when facing Gubat Ian. Gubat Ian, don't be so arrogant. If you want to kill them, you'll have to go through me first. Su Chen took a step forward and looked straight at Gubat Ian with a faint smile. Gubat Ian was stunned. A two-star god realm ant actually dared to provoke him? Brother Gu, this brat is not simple. His strength is much stronger than yours and mine. Kong Zonghao reminded. Oh! Gubat Ian exclaimed softly. Kong Zonghao was the second strongest person after him. To be able to receive such an evaluation from Kong Zonghao, it could be imagined that Su Chen must be extraordinary. However, he was only a two-star god realm expert after all. In his eyes, he was still an ant. Brat, you're very brave. However, you're still far from being able to show off in front of me. Gubat Ian sized up Su Chen, smiled contemptuously, and continued, seeing that you have such a cultivation base at such a young age, I'll give you a chance to kill yourself here. As the strongest person in the 4 domains, he was qualified to say such words. It was normal for him to look down on Su Chen. Chapter 1149. In the past, many people used this tone to talk to me. Unfortunately, they all died in my hands without exception. Su Chen narrowed his eyes and said calmly. As soon as he finished speaking, he gave Wu Tsang and the others a meaningful glance, indicating for them to retreat. The fight between him and Gubat Ian was a life-and-death game. He would not hold back any of his superpowers, and the waves created were enough to destroy a level 1 immortal state star. Wu Tsang understood and retreated with Zhang Qingkuan and the others. Soon, they were dozens of miles away. Brother Gu, do you want to join forces to kill him? Kong Zonghao suggested. He always felt that Su Chen was very strange. In order to avoid any unexpected trouble, he wanted to kill Su Chen as soon as possible. Join forces? Gu Baishan's face was sullen. He was the #1 expert in the 4 realms. Why would he need to join forces against a level 2 immortal state star? If this were to spread, it would be a disgrace to his reputation. Brother Kong, just enjoy the show. Gubat Ian rejected. Since Gubat Ian had spoken, Kong Zonghao did not say anything else. He quickly retreated with the other immortal state beasts. Boy, it seems that you want to fight me. I'll fulfill your request. Gubat Ian glanced at Su Chen and smiled. Then, a golden long sword appeared in his hand. It was 400 to 500 feet long. The power it exuded shook the sky. It was not inferior to Kong Zonghao's silver moon sky-shattering blade. Gubat Ian held the golden long sword and pointed it at Su Chen. He sneered, Boy, to die under my sword-piercing sky is the greatest honor in your life. You want to kill me? You have to have the ability to do so. Su Chen snorted and opened his storage bag to summon the Thunder's sacred sword. With a whoosh, a 3-meter-long holy sword surrounded by lightning shot out from his storage pouch and circled above his head. Thunder's sacred sword. Seeing Su Chen summon a lightning sacred sword, Gu Batian had a mocking look on his face. His piercing heaven divine sword was a top-notch divine weapon. Not to mention a single divine sword, even 10 or 100 divine swords would not be able to withstand it. Was that all Su Chen could do? What a joke! However, just as he finished speaking, his eyelids suddenly twitched. A lightning-attributed sacred sword flew out from Su Chen's storage pouch. Moreover, it was continuous. After the second sword, it followed closely behind. Then came the third, the fourth. In the blink of an eye, there were 100 of them. Furthermore, the lightning-type sacred swords were still shooting out continuously. In the blink of an eye, there were already 1,000 of them. Looking at the sacred sword that was filled with lightning, everyone was dumbfounded. 1,000 lightning-attributed sacred swords. There were some people who never owned a single saint artifact in their entire lives. However, Su Chen alone possessed 1,000 of them. This was simply inconceivable. How could he have so many sacred swords? Gu Batian was a little moved. His calm face showed a dignified look for the first time. The combined power of 1,000 lightning-attributed sacred swords was no less than the piercing heaven divine sword. At this moment, he finally understood why Su Chen was so fearless. It must be because of the 1,000 sacred swords. Su Chen actually has such a trick up his sleeve. Zhang Chenkuan's face was filled with horror as he muttered in a trembling voice. When they were in the Twilight region, Su Chen had said that he still had a trump card. He was also looking forward to it, but he never thought that this trump card would be so terrifying. This guy actually has such a trump card. Kang Zonghao whispered with lingering fear. Facing 1,000 lightning-attributed sacred swords, he knew that he would definitely not be able to withstand it. Chapter 1150. No, Su Chen has more than 1,000 lightning elemental sacred swords. At this moment, Wu Tsang shouted in shock. Everyone's expression changed and they all looked at Su Chen. In their line of sight, more lightning elemental sacred swords shot out from Su Chen's storage bag. The speed was even faster. In the blink of an eye, there were another 100 swords and there were no signs of stopping. 1,000 swords, 2,000 swords. It was only when there were 5,000 swords that he stopped. At this moment, everyone was stunned. Even their breathing had stopped. A total of 5,000 lightning elemental sacred swords. It was like a dream. Even though they saw it with their own eyes, they still found it unbelievable. However, it wasn't over yet. After the 5,000 sacred swords stood in the void, there was a terrifying wave of spiritual energy and magical energy. Suddenly, 2,500 swords formed from spiritual energy and 2,500 magical energy swords appeared. Oh my God! Zhang Chenkuan's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. The others were also extremely shocked. Their mouths were wide open and their expressions were blank. What kind of superpower is this? Gu Batian swallowed his saliva. Even his voice was trembling. He had been in the void for tens of thousands of years and had never seen such a terrifying sword-type superpower. 5,000 lightning elemental sacred swords, 2,500 spiritual energy swords, and 2,500 magical energy swords. There were 10,000 swords. Their combined power was enough to shake the heavens and earth. Moreover, Su Chen's identity as a full-time cultivator was obvious. How can there be such a monster in this world? Gu Baishan's state of mind was shaken. He had always been known as the #1 expert and the #1 genius in this world. However, with the appearance of Su Chen, the title of the #1 genius was probably going to be taken away. This was because, judging from Su Chen's age, he was definitely not more than 100 years old. To be able to reach the immortal state at this age was something that even he couldn't do. Moreover, Su Chen was a full-time cultivator. This was even more proof that Su Chen's talent completely crushed his. I have to destroy him completely. Gu Batian shouted in his heart. The titles of the #1 expert and the #1 genius were not to be taken by others. As long as Su Chen was destroyed, this world would still be under his control. Submit to me and prosper, oppose me and perish. Therefore, Su Chen must die. Die! Gu Batian let out a hysterical roar as he swung his sword down with both hands. All of a sudden, the sword of piercing heaven in his hand grew to 1,000 feet in size. Like a golden river of stars, it tore through the void and slashed down at Su Chen. The power of a single sword strike was terrifying. Wu Tsang and the others paled in fright, retreating 100 miles in the blink of an eye. Good timing! Su Chen showed no signs of fear as he stretched out his hand and pointed forward. Buzz! The sacred sword trembled slightly, and lightning overflowed in all directions. The 10,000 longswords shot toward the giant golden sword in unison. They merged with each other as they flew, and in the blink of an eye, they turned into a blue longsword that was 1,000 feet long. In the next moment, the two swords collided without any fancy moves. Boom! Crack! The world changed color, and the void shattered. It was as if a planet had exploded, and the violent power swept out in all directions. Even though they were more than 100 miles away, Wu Tsang and the others were so shocked that their hearts trembled. They suppressed their fear and looked at the source of the explosion without blinking. The clash of Su Chen and Gu Batian's strongest killing moves would soon reveal who was stronger. Chapter 1151. When the dazzling light dissipated, the golden long sword trembled violently and was sent flying. As it flew, the gigantic sword shrunk continuously and quickly returned to its original size of 400 feet. Moreover, the entire sword was covered with web-like cracks. Finally, with a crisp, crack sound, it shattered into countless pieces and scattered in the void. The piercing heaven divine sword was actually shattered. Witnessing this scene, everyone was stunned. How could this be? Gu Batian's heart was bleeding. The Tong Tian sword was his main means of dominating the void. Without this top-grade divine weapon, his strength would be greatly reduced. However, he could not care less about his heartache. After destroying the Tong Tian sword, the gigantic blue sword came crashing down on him like a hot knife through butter. "You're too naive to kill me." Gu Batian gritted his teeth and a layer of golden armor appeared on his body, emitting a dazzling golden light. At that moment he was like a god. His majesty was awe-inspiring and mighty. Su Chen pursed his lips with a look of disdain and pointed his finger forward. The gigantic blue sword cut through the sky with lightning speed and slashed down on Gu Batian. Boom! Another earth-shattering sound was heard. Gu Batian suffered a violent blow and his flesh and blood splattered everywhere. His 1,000 feet tall body quickly disappeared and finally he was only 10 feet tall. However, a part of the power of the 100 swords as one was depleted and the sword could not kill Gu Batian who had the divine armor. Even so, it was inevitable that Gu Batian would end up with serious injuries. At that moment he was in rags and his breath was weak. He was no longer as mighty as before. A divine master was crushed. The faces of the immortal state ferocious beasts darkened. Gu Batian had always been invincible in their minds. Who would have thought that he would be beaten to such a state by a 2-stars immortal state? Just a little bit more. Wu Tsang recovered from the shock and sighed regretfully. If Su Chen had killed Gu Batian, the battle would have ended. However, if Gu Batian did not die, there would be a huge variable. Su Chen had already used his strongest killing move. Did he still have any other trump cards? Would he be able to kill Gu Batian? None of this was known. On the other side, Kang Zonghao heaved a heavy sigh. Su Chen's strength had shocked him greatly. If Gu Batian was killed, then he would be in danger. Fortunately, Gu Batian was not dead yet, so there was still a chance to turn the tables. Otherwise, he would immediately leave the Zhenhuan domain. "Brat, I have to admit that you are indeed very strong, but it's impossible for you to kill me. Are you at your wits' end?" Gu Ba laughed wildly. He instinctively thought that Su Chen would not have any more trump cards. After that, he would madly seek revenge until Su Chen was completely destroyed. "You're too naive." A mocking expression appeared on Su Chen's face. After putting the lightning-type sacred sword into his storage bag, He aimed at Gubatian and used Drunken Life from afar. Gubatian was now at his weakest, and it was the best time to kill him. Kill him while he was weak. He would not miss such a great opportunity. You want to show off in front of me with just a mere intent realm divine ability? Gubatian was dazed for a moment, but he quickly recovered. As a 3 stars immortal state super expert, his willpower was extremely strong. Su Chen's Drunken Life could not do anything to him. However, Su Chen's punch was just a pretense. The second primordial spirit used Instant Phantom and appeared behind Gubatian. It aimed at Gubatian and punched in the air. Chapter 1152. Gubatian sensed a dangerous aura behind him and quickly turned around. When he saw that it was an identical Su Chen, he was stunned. But soon, he realized that the Su Chen behind him must be an avatar. An avatar would at most have half of the strength of the original body. Thinking of this, Gubatian was disdainful. A mere avatar wants to sneak up on me? As soon as he finished speaking, his face changed. At this moment, he clearly felt that the avatar in front of him had the same aura as Su Chen. They had both reached the level of God Realm 2-star. An avatar with the same strength? Gubatian was taken aback. What he saw was a 100-meter-tall astral tempest that suddenly appeared in the void and came crashing down on him at a rapid speed. The energy waves that it emitted were destructive. What superpower is this? Gubatian was completely stunned. Before he could even react, he was engulfed by the galaxy storm that swept over. What a terrifying fist skill superpower! Kang Zonghao and the others were so scared that their faces turned pale and their bodies trembled. Su Chen's 10,000 swords into one was already shocking enough, but the galaxy storm gave them a feeling that it was not inferior to the 10,000 swords into one. One person had 2 superpowers and his strength was unparalleled. At this moment, they clearly realized how powerful Su Chen was. Su Chen has such a trump card? Wu Tsang was stunned. Zhang Chengkuan and the others were relatively calm. After all, when he was in the Twilight Domain, he had seen Su Chen use this killer move, so he had a certain level of tolerance. Bang bang. Crack crack crack. After a series of crackling sounds, the galaxy storm gradually dissipated. Everyone widened their eyes and looked at Gubatian. They saw that Gubatian was covered in blood and the divine armor on his body was shattered inch by inch. His aura was also extremely weak. Although he was not dead, he was definitely at the point of exhaustion. Gubatian is finished. Zhang Chengkuan and the others were excited. They could clearly see that not only was Gubatian heavily injured, but his divine armor and divine sword had also been destroyed by Su Chen. His strength had fallen to rock bottom. As long as Su Chen continued, he would definitely be able to kill Gubatian. Quick, save the clan leader. The group of deity realm ferocious beasts suppressed the fear in their hearts and rushed towards Su Chen. Kang Zonghao hesitated for a moment and followed closely behind the god state ferocious beast. He understood that if Gubatian died, he would not be able to live either. Therefore, he could not watch Gubatian die in Su Chen's hands. Kill! Zhang Chengkuan roared and rushed towards Kang Zonghao. Now was the best time to kill Gubatian. He could not allow Kang Zonghao to ruin his plan. Scram! Kang Zonghao flew into a rage and slashed out with his saber, sending Zhang Chengkuan flying. Then, without stopping, he continued to charge at Su Chen. Do you think you can stop me? Su Chen smiled contemptuously and flicked his wrist. A silver light shot out and instantly turned into a silver giant that was 100 feet tall. Suddenly, a brilliant heavenly aura poured down and completely shocked the group of deity realm ferocious beasts. 3-star deity realm puppet. Kang Zonghao's face darkened when he felt the aura of the silver puppet. However, there was no room for retreat at this time. Kang Zonghao gritted his teeth and held the silver moon shattering blade to fight with the intelligent war chariot. In terms of strength, he was stronger than the intelligent war chariot. However, it was impossible for him to defeat the intelligent war chariot in a short time. Chapter 1153. Su Chen then summoned the Disillusionment Blazewing Divine Dragon and the integrated 5 Extremes Mountain to kill the rest of the God-State beasts. After doing all this, he looked at Gubadian and said lightly, "You're indeed the most powerful opponent I've ever met to be able to block 2 of my killing moves in a row without dying. In order to show you enough respect, I'll use my killing move to deal with you. Su Chen, give me a chance to live." Gubadian roared loudly. Even though he had lived for countless years, he still did not want to die. However, he was now a lamp that had run out of oil. Not to mention that he could not block Su Chen, even a God-State 1-star could easily kill him. If he wanted to live, he could only beg Su Chen. Su Chen snorted and rushed to Gubadian. He joined forces with the second primordial spirit to perform the 10,000 lights 10 shadows killing technique. All of a sudden, 20 shadows and 2 Su Chen surrounded Gubadian. In the next moment, they used their own methods and attacked together. There was a loud boom. Gubadian was blasted into powder without any suspense. From then on, Gubadian, who was known as the strongest person in the 4 realms, had completely become history. Looking at the millions of fragments densely packed in the sky, Su Chen's lips curled up slightly. Then he quickly collected the fragments. The number of fragments had reached a whopping 1.8 million. If all of them were exchanged for energy points, it would be just enough to buy a level 23 all attributes fragment. With his current strength, he could still easily kill Kong Zonghao and the others. However, Su Chen could not help but exchange for 1. His cultivation instantly soared to the God-State 3 stars. The Patriarch is dead. After seeing that Gubadian was not killed, those God-State beasts no longer had the heart to fight and fled toward the boundary passage. The integrated 5 Extremes Mountain and the Disillusionment Blazewing Divine Dragon could not stop them at all. Kong Zonghao also did not want to continue fighting. Once Gubadian was dead, Su Chen's next target would definitely be him. If he did not run, he would lose his life here. However, he was entangled by the intelligent war chariot and couldn't get away for a while. On the other side, Su Chen narrowed his eyes and quickly released the 5 elements Thunder Purgatory formation. While trapping a group of divine realm fierce beasts, he raised his hand and launched a Pegasus Meteor Punch. As his cultivation increased, the power of his various divine abilities also increased. Amidst the miserable howls, all the deity realm ferocious beasts were killed without being able to put up any resistance. Su Chen has leveled up. Wu Cang and the others were pleasantly surprised. The Su Chen before his breakthrough was already enough to crush all opponents. After his breakthrough, who in the world could be his match? After Kong Zonghao sensed Su Chen's advancement, he was scared out of his wits. However, he wasn't someone easy to deal with. He definitely wouldn't sit and wait for death. He gritted his teeth, and a bright white light appeared on the silver moon sky shattering blade. A terrifying power was released and sent the intelligent war chariot flying with 1 blow. Then, without hesitation, he flew straight toward the domain passage. However, before he flew far, his vision suddenly blurred and he saw a figure in front of him. It was Su Chen. Su Chen, do you really want to fight to the death with me? Kong Zonghao suppressed the fear in his heart and snorted angrily. Do you think you can bargain with me with a little power of faith? Su Chen sneered. He saw clearly that the white light covered by the silver moon sky shattering blade was the power of faith, and it was quite mature. It was the power of faith that could send the intelligent war chariot flying with 1 blow. Chapter 1154. However, the power of faith was a great deterrent to others, but it was nothing to him, because he had the City of Faith, which was the nemesis of the power of faith. No matter how much power of faith there was, he could absorb it all. Since you know about the power of faith, do you still dare to stop me? Kong Zonghao snorted and increased the output of the power of faith at the same time. Suddenly, the white light on the silver moon sky-shattering blade almost condensed into a substance, emitting a dazzling light and terrifying energy fluctuations. The power of faith could not only be used to attack, but also to help one level up. Kang Zonghao had been condensing the power of faith for more than 10,000 years. The reason why he didn't use it until now was that the power of faith was only a little bit away from helping him advance to Divine Realm 4 stars. With his aptitude, advancing to Divine Realm 3 stars was already his limit. If he wanted to advance to Divine Realm 4 stars, he could only do so through the power of faith. How could he bear to do so? However, due to the critical situation, he could only release the power of faith. And he also believed that with the power of faith as a trump card, Su Chen would definitely be wary. "You're still too naive." Su Chen shook his head and sighed softly, then summoned the City of Faith. Suddenly, an extremely violent suction force attached to the Silver Moon sky-shattering blade. The power of faith was sucked into the City of Faith, like a whale sucking in water. My power of faith. Kang Zonghao watched as the power of faith that he had spent countless years condensing was sucked away. His heart was bleeding. Without the power of faith, not only did he block the path to Divine Realm 4 stars, but he also lost the trump card to fight against Su Chen. "Su Chen, I'll kill you." Knowing that there was no way out, Kang Zonghao made up his mind and slashed at Su Chen with the Silver Moon sky-shattering blade. "You're just a speck of light." Su Chen sneered and punched out with his fist. There was a loud explosion. The Silver Moon sky-shattering blade was blown away by the punch, and Kang Zonghao was blasted into pieces. "He's too strong." Zhang Qingquan and the others were shocked and excited. With Kang Zonghao killed, the battle was completely over. Zhenhuan Domain, great victory. Of course, it was all thanks to Su Chen. From the beginning to the end, they were nothing but trash. Su Chen collected the fragments and returned to Wu Tsong's side. Then he ordered the intelligent war chariot to transform into a spaceship and invited everyone to board the spaceship to talk. "Su Chen, what are we going to do next?" Wu Tsong asked. Gu Batian and the others perished one after another. From then on, the Zhenhuan boundary was completely stable. If there was nothing else, he was prepared to leave the Zhenhuan domain and explore the universe. The next step is to exterminate the void beasts. Su Chen said coldly as a cold light flashed in his eyes. "Oh." Wu Tsong nodded. The void beast and the heaven-scattering cultivator colluded to open the realm passage and almost destroyed the Zhenhuan domain. With Su Chen's temper, it was reasonable for him to destroy it. "Su Chen, I plan to leave the Zhenhuan domain." Wu Tsong said directly. A mere void beast was not even comparable to an ant in Su Chen's eyes. Even if he stayed, he would be of limited use. "Senior, you're leaving?" Su Chen frowned. Soon, he remembered that Wu Tsong had planned to leave long ago. However, he was still somewhat reluctant to part with Wu Tsong. After thinking for a while, he said, "Senior, why don't you wait for a while? After I eliminate the void beasts and restore order in the Zhenhuan domain, we can leave together." The vast universe was wonderful and he had long wanted to experience it. "Okay, I'll listen to you," Wu Tsong said happily. Su Chen's strength was unparalleled. With Su Chen accompanying him, their safety would be greatly increased. Of course, he was willing to do so. After receiving Wu Tsong's reply, Su Chen turned to look at Zhang Qingquan and said with a smile, "Clan leader Zhang, if there's nothing else, you can stay here for a few more days." "No problem." Zhang Qingquan agreed happily. Gu Batian and Kang Zonghao had been destroyed. Their twilight domain would not be in danger. They only needed to send their clansmen back to report. Later, Su Chen opened the chaos space and summoned everyone. He only ordered them to do one thing: eat, drink, and play. 10 days later, Zhang Qingquan left with his clansmen. Before leaving, Su Chen gave him a lot of seeds and told him about the fruiting period, which made Zhang Qingquan very excited. After sending Zhang Qingquan away, Su Chen arranged for people to eliminate the void beasts. A year later, the void beasts were completely destroyed. The Sun Moon Star Palace was also rebuilt at this time. 10 years later, the Sun Moon Star Palace became the strongest force in the human race and even the entire Zhenhuan domain. The two ancestors, War Sky and War Sky, advanced to the Divine Realm one after another. The Qi and Shang families, who had a good relationship with Su Chen, benefited greatly and became the second and third strongest forces. With the help of Su Chen, Qi Qingxuan also advanced to the divine realm as he wished. After that, Su Chen spent 3 years traveling the entire human race continent. He stayed in Xinyu Island for a whole year. Then he said goodbye to his acquaintances one by one and took them to leave the Zhenhuan domain in the intelligent war chariot. They drove into the vast universe and began a new journey. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.